Yo Shinobi fam, welcome back to Just a Shinobi. Today, we're diving into one of the wildest what-ifs. What if Naruto has color of life and death? Part 5. This is end of book 2. Check out full playlist. So buckle up for some serious action and twists. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button for more mind-blowing Naruto scenarios. Check out the other videos on the channel, share them with your ninja squad, and don't forget to drop your thoughts in the comments. Your support keeps this shinobi going strong. Chapter 35. What? Naruto said in horror. How the hell did you get samples of Naruto's DNA? Sakura's voice said from Naruto's right. Sakura? What are you doing here? You're supposed to be getting the kids to safety, Naruto said loudly. What? Hayden yelled irately. Kakuzu snorted. I told you we should have killed them sooner. Shut the fuck up. Hayden spat. He turned to Naruto's group. I am gonna torture you 10 times as much to make up for the loss of my sacrifices, he yelled. Inner Sakura is taking care of it, Sakura said, ignoring Hayden's rant. You need a healer. Hinata's eyes widened and then she cast her gaze to the ground. I know how they got the samples, she said. When Orochimaru took him last year, she said in a voice that said she could barely stomach the memory. Heh. One of you has brains after all, Hayden said mockingly. Kakuzu glared at his partner suspiciously. Since when the hell do you make such long, cliché speeches? Hayden rolled his eyes. Because it's fun messing with people's heads. Get with the program, you fucktard. You keep saying shit like that and I'm gonna rip out your intestines. Kakuzu growled angrily. PFT, you wouldn't do it. You know you'd have to clean up the mess so we could get back to work, Hayden answered with a dismissive wave of his hand. Kakuzu gave a derisive snort. Just hurry the hell up, he said through gritted teeth. Hayden smirked in satisfaction and went on. Because of the unique method of sealing Yandane came up with, simply removing Kyuubi would have been impossible. We gave up on our plans for a while until Orochimaru said he knew how to kill the beast but leave the power. He looked upwards in a wistful manner and sighed. I wish I could have been there. Such a beautiful torture. I get chills just from imagining your screams. He ignored the horrified look on Naruto's face and went on. We found out about his plans when he went to Itachi, asking for help to catch you. In exchange, he was supposed to stay out of our way. He had no idea we planned to have him killed once you had the chakra, he said with an evil grin. Hayden cracked his neck again. We needed a clone of you because only your system can handle that much chakra. And now that we finally have a clone who isn't a drooling blank dumbass, we'll transfer the chakra to him and make him a member. He'll be the perfect weapon in you. You'll be a corpse, he finished with a cruel glint in his eyes. Naruto started to rush forward but was stopped when more of Inari's blood ran down the boy's neck. Hayden said. Now are you going to turn yourself in or do I give this brat a look at his entrails? Naruto sighed and closed his eyes with a frown. I guess I don't have a choice. He looked at Hayden. Hey asshole, can I at least have a minute to say goodbye? Heh. Whatever, Hayden replied. Naruto went over to Sakura and gave her a hug. Sakura-chan, is Inner Sakura done with the kids yet? He whispered. Sakura turned her face into Naruto's chest so Hayden and Kakuzu couldn't see her mouth move. Almost. Use her to get Inari out of there. I'll try, Sakura whispered back. Naruto and Sakura pulled apart, and Naruto gave Hinata a kiss. I love you. Tears had formed in Hinata's eyes. I love you too. Alright. Break it up, Hayden said. We're on a tight schedule here. We still gotta find that damn Sanabi brat. Naruto swallowed and began walking. It was then that Inari found his voice. No, Naruto and I-san. You can't. Oh dear. You can't seem to shut up, can you? What a shame. And without another word, Hayden took a small, single-bladed scythe from under his robe and neatly sliced off Inari's right pinky finger. Inari screamed. Inari. Naruto and Sakura yelled in horror. Oh. Yeah. Inari cried as he held his profusely bleeding hand. Kakuzu covered his ears and gritted his teeth. Now he's just making more noise. Hayden smiled serenely. Yeah, but this is a sound I like. Naruto could barely contain himself. You son of a bitch, he growled. Yeah. Hurry up before he loses more than a finger, Hayden said. Naruto reached the end of his walk and Hayden began to bind Naruto's hands. Hayden's shadow suddenly came to life and shot upwards, knocking Inari away from the Akatsuki. It was then that Guy and the rest of the Konoha group came charging into the clearing. Guy picked up Inari and got him out of the way in the space of less than a second. Naruto used the confusion to jump up into a nearby tree and barely missed being sliced in half by Hayden's deadly weapon. Guy looked at Inari's hand and then at Sakura. He was angry. I told you not to engage the enemy. We didn't have a choice. Those kids were gonna die if we didn't get them out. Sakura paused for a second. Naruto made the right decision, she said firmly. Guy's eyes widened a bit in surprise but quickly became serious again. Well, it's too late to argue about it now. Let's just deal with this. He looked with sympathy at Inari's hand. See what you can do to stop the bleeding. Sakura nodded. Hi. Hinata, Kazuhana, you're with us, Guy said. Suddenly Hayden's eyes were wide and he was staring down at what looked like black triangular spear sticking out of his chest. He looked behind him to see a perfect shadow image of the girl with the pink hair. Its arm had extended and sharpened. Got him, Sakura said in triumph. But her smile faded away when she noticed Hayden staring at her with what could almost be described as an annoyed pout. Why isn't he dead? Why, you sneaky little bitch, Hayden stated in a half-impressed, half-annoyed tone. He pointed at Inner Sakura's arm. Do you have any fucking idea how much that hurts? Inner Sakura pulled its arm out and jumped back to its mistress. Guy's face was one of shock. Is this guy immortal? He muttered to himself. Suddenly he noticed he was only looking at one opponent. Where's the other one? Kakuzu appeared behind Sakura, his fist moving toward her with frightening speed. She barely managed to dodge and wound up with a glancing blow to her left hip despite her efforts. Hayden had taken the opportunity to draw a circular symbol on the ground with the blood dripping from his wound. The circle had a triangle inside it, each of the triangle's points touching the circle's inner edge. Hey, don't kill any of them yet. I need them for my ritual, he said to Kakuzu. Kakuzu cocked an eyebrow as he leapt into a tree. Fine. Let's see how well you do without my help. Like I need it, bastard. Hayden turned to the Konoha group just as Naruto rejoined them. Divine judgment awaits, heathens. You who are ignorant to the pain of others. How are we going to beat someone we can't kill, Guy-sensei? Hinata asked. Guy stared at Hayden, his teeth clenched. I don't know. He can't be killed, but he can be injured. If we can remove his head, at least he won't be able to fight, Niji suggested much more calmly than he should have been able to at that moment. You don't have time to chat, Hayden yelled. He whirled his triple scythe around by a long chain coming from its handle and whipped it toward the Konoha group. The group dodged and the mighty weapon dug a 10-foot-long track in the dirt where they had been a moment ago. Naruto made 12 Kage Bunshins, Hinata charged up chakra to her fingertips, Tenten pulled out a kunai, Lee removed his weights and the rest fell into battle stances. Guy began making seals but the scythe flew again and managed to make a nasty cut on his right forearm before he got out of the way. Gah! Naruto's eyes flattened into a suspicious glare when he noticed Hayden lick the blood off his blade. Kazuhana let loose with a huge ball of flame from her mouth. Hayden dodged it for the most part, but his arm got badly burned. Ugh! After I kill you I'm gonna make a leather belt out of your ass! Hayden yelled. Kakuzu snorted. Told you, you should have trained more in dodging. Shut the hell up! Hayden retorted. Suddenly Guy's face contorted in pain and his hand flew to cradle his arm which now felt like it had been burned. What the hell? Lee saw Hayden's skin begin to change color. Niji-san, look at Hayden. Niji's expression became confused. What on earth? When it was done changing, Hayden's skin had become pitch black and it looked like he had skeletal tattoos all over his body, giving him a very eerie appearance. Hurts, doesn't it, asshole? Hayden said with a smirk. Divine judgment has been dealt with. Is this a jutsu or something? Guy wondered. How's it feeling? Perhaps you've come to understand the pain of others. Haydn smirked and shifted his weight a bit. And now the ritual begins. You've already fallen victim to my curse. He smoothed his hand over his hair. It's time for the two of us to savor sublime suffering. He pulled out a long, thin dagger and aimed it at his leg. Get ready! This is gonna hurt like hell. He cackled madly as he drove the blade through his thigh. Guy's hands flew to his leg as he cried out in pain and fell to the ground. What? He croaked out through gritted teeth. Haydn laughed again. Isn't the pain fantastic? And living through it feels even better. As the other dies, their agony resonates through my body. This pain is the best. Sakura hurriedly finished with Inari's finger. Guy needed her more. She picked up Inari and put him in a safe place about 20 yards away before rejoining her team. Attacking the vitals is such a waste. This is much more fun, Haydn said gleefully. I'm gonna gut you, Naruto yelled. His upper body weight shifted forward, indicating that he was about to run at Haydn. Sakura's eyes widened and she quickly held Naruto back. Naruto, look, she said as she pointed to Guy's leg. That's the same spot where Haydn stabbed himself. If we just rush Haydn, Guy-sensei's life would be in danger. Naruto nodded and his expression settled into a frown. What the hell do we do then? He wondered out loud. Haydn pulled the dagger out of his leg and held it up high. Whoa! Where do you want it next? He said as he hovered the dagger over various spots on his body. His smile became sadistic and he held the weapon tipped to his heart. Or should I just end it now? Tenten looked at Sakura. What about inner Sakura? Sakura shook her head. She takes up too much chakra. If I take her out again, I won't be able to heal anyone. Kakuzu had been entertaining himself by breaking small branches off the tree he was perched in, but he'd gotten impatient. If it's gonna take this long, I'll kill them all myself. Haydn angrily turned his head toward his partner. Back the fuck off, Kakuzu. They're mine. How did he link his body to Guy-sensei's like that? Lee asked. Naruto's eyes went wide. The blood. I saw him lick Guy-sensei's blood off his main weapon. Could that be it? He asked Sakura. Sakura was surprised. Partially, but look at the symbol on the ground. I think he's got to stay inside it to keep his curse going. He drew it just before his skin changed. Naruto thought for a minute and suddenly his expression became determined. I have an idea, but I'll need a distraction to make sure he doesn't have time to react to me. Kazuhana reluctantly raised a clawed hand. I can do it. Okay, Naruto said. He turned to Tenten and whispered something to her. Tenten nodded slightly, moved behind Lee and Niji and discreetly took a scroll from the pouch on her hip. Ready. Okay, Kazuhana replied, and in the space of a few seconds she was a naked human woman, instantly drawing Haydn's attention. Haydn cocked an eyebrow. Is that supposed to impress me? Hate to break it to you, girlie, but I've seen naked chicks that were much hotter than you, he remarked smugly. Kazuhana's face squished up into an offended frown. Naruto barely managed to avoid passing out from blood loss at the sight of Kazuhana long enough to throw his special kunai. It landed right at Haydn's feet, and in the blink of an eye Naruto vanished and reappeared right behind Haydn. He took advantage of the moment of surprise to knock Haydn out of the circle. A huge, black windmill shuriken sliced through the air and Haydn's neck. His head flew from his body and landed on the ground. His body quickly followed suit. As Tenten landed from throwing her weapon, Naruto used his foot to erase the blood symbol and turned to Kakuzu. Okay, and now for. Kakuzu, you bastard! Naruto's eyes widened to full capacity as he stared in disbelief at Haydn's talking head. You knew what they were doing! You let them hurt me on purpose! Haydn yelled angrily. Kakuzu cocked an eyebrow. You're the one who told me not to interfere. Besides, is it really that wise of you to be yelling like that in your current situation? It's not like you have to point out my mistakes and make me look like a fool, you insensitive bastard. Is this all of them? Sasuke asked hurriedly as he ushered the last of the children into Kyoha's audience chamber. Kyoha looked over the group. Almost. One is missing, he replied. Sasuke nodded. Inari, he answered. The Akatsuki have him. The rest of our shinobi are trying to get him back. You'd best be going then, Kyoha advised. Any word on our reinforcements? Sasuke asked. Unfortunately, no, Kyoha answered. All right then, Sasuke took out a piece of paper and quickly drew a map. He handed it to Kyoha. This is our location. Please give it to the team when they arrive. Of course. You better hurry. I'm sure they need you, Kyoha said. Sasuke nodded. Hi. And with that he ran out the door as fast as his legs would carry him. Tenten was helping Guy to his feet. Are you alright, Guy-sensei? Hi. Arigato, Tenten, Guy said as he shook his head to clear his mind. For someone who can't die, you're an awfully big baby about getting hurt, Kakuzu said. Just shut the hell up and help me, Haiden yelled. Although how he yelled with no lungs to force air through his windpipe was anyone's guess. TCH. Fine, Kakuzu grumbled as he began to walk toward his partner. Oh no you don't, Lee yelled as he put on a burst of speed. He grabbed Haiden's head just as Kakuzu was reaching for it, and kept running. Alright, fuzzy brows, Naruto cheered. Keep going. We'll handle things here. Lee saluted with his free hand. OSU. Kakuzu was about to run after Haiden's head when he found himself met with a wall of opposition. You'll have to get through us first, Naruto said as he folded his arms. Kakuzu sighed. Like that will be a problem. He crossed his arms in front of him, which had some kind of stitches around the middle of each forearm. The stitches suddenly popped loose and he thrust his arms forward. His hands, connected by impossibly long tendons, shot out from their moorings and grabbed Sakura and Kazuhana by the throats. Kazuhana tried to suck in a breath to use her fire, but her airway was cut off. In desperation she reverted to her dragon form, and the new size of her neck proved to be too much for Kakuzu's grip and his hand released her. She fell to the ground and coughed for a second before leaping up and shooting fire at Kakuzu, forcing him to let Sakura go as well. Guy shot forward, attempting to hit Kakuzu with a series of kicks, but Kakuzu was too fast and dodged all but the last one, which he caught, and used Guy's momentum to toss him nearly 20 feet away. Guy's head landed on a rock and he was out for the count. Guy-sensei! Tenten yelled. Her face flattened into a determined glare as she pulled out a large scroll, made a few hand signs, and unrolled it with a flick of her wrist. There was a puff of smoke and out of it appeared a pair of twin katana. But before she could charge forward, Kakuzu suddenly had a sparkling hole through his chest. Behind him was Sasuke with a triumphant smirk on his face. Got you, you son of a bitch, Sasuke said just before pulling out his arm. Kakuzu fell to the ground, blood pooling around him. Sasuke-kun! Tenten yelled. For a moment it seemed like she was going to act the fangirl like Sakura had done so long ago, and yet… What the hell? I was about to get him. Sasuke's smirk became one of amusement. Be faster next time. Tenten growled and slugged him in the arm. You're so damn smug. As Sasuke rubbed his arm, he couldn't help but think that she was cute when she was mad. He kept it to himself, of course, but it was difficult to do so. His thoughts were interrupted, however, when he was suddenly kicked into the air. He managed to right himself and land, although shakily, on his feet. Kakuzu lowered his foot to the ground. Damn you, he said to Sasuke. Sasuke's eyes showed his confusion and worry. What the hell? I know I hit his heart. Kakuzu removed his cloak, revealing multiple places where he seemed to have stitched himself together, and 4 very creepy-looking mask-like faces on his back. One of those faces was broken and bleeding. Bulges appeared under the masks, making them appear to have a life of their own. They ripped themselves from his back and 4 strange black monsters formed around them. These monsters looked like a very evil version of a haystack. The broken mask let out a horrible groan of death and fell to the ground, its body dissolving into the dirt. The threads that held him together restitched the holes the masked monsters had come from. Sakura was horrified but managed to study the situation fairly well. Since one of the masks that came out of his body is dead, that means Sasuke did make a killing blow. There's got to be some trick to it. One of the monsters opened its mouth and let out a powerful wind attack. Everyone jumped out of the way and a different monster used an earth attack that thrust pillars up from the ground. The group managed to dodge except for Niji, who rode a pillar to the top and used the height to try out a new attack. He got up some speed by jumping from pillar to pillar, and then dove at one of Kakuzu's monsters. Kaiten Bomu! A slash and heavenly spin bomb, a glowing shell of chakra surrounded Niji's body as he rocketed toward his target. He hit with the force of a wrecking ball but still only managed a glancing blow, leaving the mask cracked and bleeding, but still intact. Sakura had used the distraction to retrieve Guy from the battlefield and begin healing his wound. Right on John, a slash and lightning element, false darkness, yelled Kakuzu. A torrent of lightning raced towards Naruto, Hinata, and Kazuhana. There was no time to run, and so Naruto stood in front of the other two and began channeling chakra, hoping to use it to deflect the coming attack. Suddenly there was a flash of silver and green and an explosion of lightning to rival that of Kakuzu's attack. Raikiri! When the bright light was gone, Kakashi stood there, holding up his now burned hands and breathing hard. Kakashi-sensei! Naruto and Sakura said in surprise. How did you get here so fast? Niji groaned as he walked slowly to his comrades, nursing a heavy bruise on his left arm. Kakashi's eyes widened. Tomoyo! He ran to a spot not more than 20 feet away where Tomoyo's crumpled form lay on the ground. He gently turned her over. Tomoyo! Are you alright? Tomoyo managed to force her eyes open. I'm fine. Kakashi-kun. Just tired. Go and help them, she said with an exhausted smile. Sakura put a hand on Kakashi's shoulder. I'll take care of her. Kakashi nodded and headed back into the fray where the others were already in the process of avoiding a large fireball. His eyes widened in surprise. He can use fire too? Tomoyo brought you here, didn't she? Naruto asked. Kakashi saw the mild look of anger on the face of his student. Trust me. I tried to talk her out of it. She's tired, but Sakura doesn't look worried, so I think she'll be alright. Naruto seemed reluctantly satisfied with his cousin-in-law's explanation and turned back to the enemy. I don't know what the hell is up with this guy. For some weird reason he can use 3 elements. From what Sasuke told me a few days ago, he shouldn't be able to. Sakura spoke up from where she was healing Tomoyo. I think it has something to do with those monsters. Sasuke punched him through the chest earlier, but it only killed one of those. She made a face. They came out of his body. So it died in his place, Kakashi said with his brow furrowed in thought. Kakuzu smirked. Nice deduction. This is my heart collection. He gestured at the monsters. I took them from various shinobi I've killed. I used to have 5, but since you took out one of them, I'll have to replace it. With one of yours. I see. So he takes people's hearts and acupunctures them into his body. He's even managed to keep their chakra's element, which explains why he can use so many different elemental recompositions. Kakashi thought. Looking at your forehead protectors reminds me of the very first Konoha shinobi I fought, Kakuzu said as the stitches on his right arm loosened. The first Hokage, that is. How old can he be? Niji asked with wide eyes. You're really immortal? Kakashi asked. Nah, Kakuzu answered. No one is immortal. By adding someone's heart to my collection right before mine stops from old age, I've managed to lengthen my lifespan. Of course, the hearts need to be removed from the shinobi while they're still alive. He relished a moment in the horrified looks on the faces of the teenagers. Enough talking. The stitches on both arms came undone and the strange black, tendon-like things that also made up the masked monsters went toward the Konoha group with the speed of a cobra, wrapping around each of them and holding them tight. As Naruto struggled against his bonds, he was lifted into the air and brought closer to Kakuzu. One of the tendons had been wrapped around his neck, slowly cutting off his air supply. Catching you had better be worth it. This whole thing has been a pain in the ass, Kakuzu grumbled. The mouths of his 3 monsters opened wide, prepared to wipe out the Konoha group with a triple elemental attack. Naruto's hands came closer and closer as he fought to stay conscious, and in one last great effort he brought them together in his favorite seal. Around 30 clones rushed Kakuzu, cutting at his tendons with kunai. The sheer number of them granted them the power to sever the tendons, and the team fell free. In less than a second the tendons were screaming toward them again. Everyone managed to dodge them except Naruto, who was still tired from the combination of the bunshins and the fact that he was still recovering from being choked. A tendon stabbed through his left shoulder, and he screamed and lost his battle with the darkness. Naruto. Naruto heard an unfamiliar voice and felt a hand gently shaking him. Yowak, he groaned. Naruto! Wake up! Naruto's eyes opened a bit. Through the small gap in his eyelashes he could make out the shape of a man. Who? Come on, kiddo! You don't have time to be snoozing, the man said, this time sounding more urgent. Naruto's eyes opened all the way, and the sight that greeted him made his breath catch in his throat. His voice came out in a disbelieving whisper. Dad? Namake's Minato smiled with the same grin that had greeted Naruto in the mirror for the last 15 years. He reached out a hand and his son took it. As his father pulled him to his feet, Naruto decided he must be dreaming. He was in a fight. Obviously, he'd been knocked out. It felt so real, yet there was just no other rational explanation except. His eyes flashed wide and he let go of Minato's hand, leaping backwards in the process. This isn't a dream. Is it? He asked, his heart racing in panic. Minato smiled and shook his head. No. I'm really here. Tears found their way to Naruto's eyes. Then I'm dead. Minato's smile became comforting. No. You're not dead. And sadly, I'm not alive. He cocked his head to one side. Don't you have any idea where you are? Naruto wiped his eyes and looked around. He was standing in an open field he didn't recognize, but for some strange reason the feel of the place's energy felt familiar. Almost like the seal? Minato grinned. That's my boy. You were here the whole time? Naruto asked. No. Only since Orochimaru killed Kyuubi. But even then it's taken me all this time to fully regain my self-awareness. When you were stabbed a moment ago, the surge in your chakra gave me the final jolt I needed. He walked over to Naruto and stroked his son's forehead. I wish I had time to talk to you right now, but you're still in danger. I promise I'll explain everything later, but for now, he pushed Naruto gently backwards, you need to wake up. A white light washed in front of Naruto's vision, and his father was gone. Chapter 36. Naruto's eyes opened to see Sakura working on healing his wound while everyone else held Kakazu off. He began to sit up, but she pushed him back down. Oh no, you don't. I know you heal fast, but you still need to give me a minute, Sakura said in a very motherly fashion. Damn it, Sakura-chan. I know when I'm okay to fight, Naruto protested as he tried to get up again. Sakura cocked an eyebrow. Don't make me tie you down. She pushed him to the ground again, and her expression became serious. You know, this wound reminds me of Sasuke. She didn't finish her sentence, and instead doubled her efforts. Naruto frowned. Sakura-chan. It's okay, Sakura said. I'm long over it. It's just that it reminds me of how you almost died that day, and all I did was sit in the village, expecting you to bring Sasuke back to me. She completed the healing jutsu and began bandaging the closing wound. I was so useless back then, she said quietly. Naruto smiled. Well, you sure do a damn good job now, he said, rubbing the spot where the hole in his chest had been. With healing and fighting, he said as Sakura helped him to his feet. That hurts, you son of a bitch. Hayden yelled as Lee switched his grip so that he was holding him by the hair. Lee sighed and rolled his eyes. He was about to accommodate the talking head just to get him to shut up when he saw the backup team of Umbu from Konoha headed his way. Oi, everyone, he said. The team changed their direction just a bit to meet up with Lee. Where are the others? Said a woman's voice from behind an Umbu mask. They're still fighting. Here. Lee tossed something in the direction of the Umbu who had spoken. Take this. The Umbu caught the object and then let out a shriek of surprise. Why the hell did you throw a head at me? Now that's just fucking rude, Hayden said in protest of being referred to as an object. Whoa, the Umbu said, dropping Hayden 50 feet to the forest floor. You stupid Bayuyich! Hayden yelled the entire way down. Lee sighed and shot down after Hayden, catching him a few feet from the ground. This guy, he said, handing the head back to the Umbu, is a prisoner. Please take him to the Hokage. I'll give my full report when I get back. The Umbu stuffed Hayden in a bag. Damn it, bitch. First you dropped me and now you're cutting off my view. The Umbu quickly pulled on the ties to close the back. That's gonna get annoying as hell real fast. She handed the bag off to another Umbu. You take it. I'm the captain. I don't have time to run errands. As her subordinate left with the bag, she turned back to Lee. Lead us to them. Tenten brandished her katana and dumped chakra into the blades. They glowed brightly as she threw them at Kakuzu, who raised an eyebrow when they both whizzed by his head, causing no damage. Where exactly are you aiming? He asked. Tenten yanked her hands backward, and only then did Kakuzu realize she was pulling on chakra strings. The blades turned around in midair and screamed toward the fire-using monsters. Before Kakuzu could blink, the monster was pierced through the middle of the mask. As it died, Kakuzu glared at Tenten. You guys are starting to piss me off, he said in a low voice. Tenten jumped straight up to avoid the new barrage of stone pillars, only to be hit by a jutsu from the water monster. She coughed some blood as it nailed her in the stomach. She landed on the ground, rolling a few times before slamming into a tree. Tenten! Sasuke screamed. Naruto ran up to his brother. Go ahead and take care of her. He turned to Kakuzu and his eyes changed to the purple and white of the tamagon. The pupil was once again the slit it had become the last time he'd used the technique. It seemed to the others that the change to his must be permanent. I'll take care of him. He dropped the genjutsu that had been hiding his fangs. Kazuhana, I need your fire. Hi, Kazuhana said as she stood next to her fighting partner. Sakura, check on Tenten, Naruto commanded. NHM. Sakura said before running to Tenten and Sasuke. You were barely holding me back with all of you, and now you think that reducing your numbers is going to help? Kakuzu said with amusement. Hinata's hand was suddenly over Naruto's. He's right. You need us, she said as Niji and Kakashi also stepped forward. Naruto shook his head. Trust me. This is gonna be dangerous. Hinata's expression became worried. You're not going to use the Sujukan Rasengan again, are you? No. I wouldn't be able to get close enough for a hit. But I have an idea and I don't know what kind of damage it'll cause, so I need you guys out of the way. Back me up, okay? Naruto said with a reassuring smile. Kakashi gave Naruto a hard stare. I'll let you try, but if it looks like you're in trouble, I'll step in whether you want me to or not. Hinata and Niji joined him as he backed away enough that they would be out, he hoped, of the immediate blast zone, but still close enough to help if needed. Alright, you bastard. Let's do this, Naruto said as he widened his stance. Alright then, freak, let's see what you can do with your little pet dragon, Kakuzu taunted. Pet? Kazuhana said indignantly as her eye twitched. I'll show you a pet. She took in a deep breath and fire blasted from her open mouth. Kakuzu's earth monster put up a wall of dirt to protect him from the flames. Is that all you can do? Kakuzu said. Kazuhana gritted her teeth. Naruto's hands glowed with chakra as he made several Sujukan balls. Use your fire on these. He threw them at the dirt wall. Kazuhana's fire hit them, and nearly doubled the normal explosion. Kakuzu jumped to avoid the debris when the dirt wall came down, but his earth monster wasn't so lucky. Its mask shattered as easily as the wall. Naruto smirked. You only got one left now. I don't need more than one to deal with a brat like you, Kakuzu said. The remaining monster opened its mouth and fired a giant ball of lightning at Naruto and Kazuhana. At the same time, many more of his joints became unsewn and he was quickly surrounded by a writhing mass of nasty-looking black tentacles extending from his body. Kazuhana wasted no time on apologies as she grabbed Naruto's sides in her golden claws and flew him out of danger. She dodged left and right to avoid the tentacles as they attempted to pluck her and Naruto out of the sky. She performed a loop and Naruto had to shake off the slight wave of nausea that resulted. Kazuhana, fly me in closer, Naruto commanded. As they got within 30 feet of his target, Naruto's hands glowed with chakra. The glow got larger and took on the form of claws. He flung his arms upward and back, then snapped them forward as if slicing the air with the deadly blades. When the chakra claws shot forward, Sasuke, who was holding Tenten's hand while he waited for her to wake up, recognized the attack his brother was using. That's... he muttered as the image of those same chakra-clawed hands attacking him flashed into his mind. The difference was this time they weren't red and Naruto had complete control over them. Naruto made sure the clawed hands, which kept increasing in size in order to create the widest net possible, caught as much sujukan as they could on the way towards his target. The sujukan rapidly formed a white crust on the palms of the chakra hands. Kakuzu readied his monster and his tentacles for the coming attack, having no idea what was actually about to happen. To his surprise, the hands didn't come directly at him but moved to his sides. They spread wide, and before Kakuzu had a chance to realize what was going on, the hands clamped shut around him. When Naruto pulled them back, Kakuzu was encased in a giant sujukan shell. "Burn it!" Naruto commanded his reptilian friend. Kazuhana had actually started her fire as soon as Naruto began speaking. She'd had a pretty good idea of what Naruto needed her to do since she'd acted as the ignition for similar attacks on several occasions. She blew out the largest fireball she had ever made in the human world. As soon as it hit, an explosion rocked the area. On top of the dirt, rocks, and other shrapnel that were being flung in all directions, the blast also sent out a shockwave that hit Kazuhana and Naruto with the force of a freight train. They blacked out and both of them started the 100-foot fall to the unforgiving ground below. "Naruto!" Hinata screamed. "Naruto and I-san!" Inari yelled. "Shit!" Kakashi cursed. He bolted toward the falling pair, but he knew the only one he could catch was Naruto. Kazuhana was simply too large. "Hinata! Niji! Get Kazuhana!" Hinata and Niji raced to Kazuhana's falling form, but they knew it was useless. There was no way they could safely catch a nearly 500-pound dragon. Niji's eyes widened as an idea came to him. "Hinata, soft Kaiten!" he yelled suddenly. Hinata nodded and both cousins got into the proper stance. "Kaiten!" they said in unison. Kazuhana hit the whirling chakra, which sank a little to absorb some of the shock, and bounced off onto the ground. At the same time, Kakashi leapt into the air and Naruto fell hard into his arms. The cousins stopped their jutsu. Niji went to check on the ebony dragon, while Hinata ran to Naruto. "Naruto-kun!" Kakashi looked Naruto over and smiled beneath his mask. "He'll be fine," he said to Hinata. "Just a small concussion." He looked down at the blonde in his arms and shook his head. "Twice in one day," he said with a sigh. "Kazuhana's right arm is broken, but she looks alright otherwise," Niji reported as he looked over the arm in question, which was bent at an unnatural angle. Kakashi looked back to see what had become of Kakuzu. When he didn't see him right away, he looked down at the ground where Kakuzu had been standing. Kakuzu was there. In pieces. What a jutsu, Kakashi thought. Naruto's eyes fluttered open. Ugh. Hinata flung her arms around her boyfriend's neck. "Naruto-kun!" she cried happily. "Did it work?" Naruto asked weakly. Kakashi cocked an eyebrow. "That would be an understatement. If your stomach feels even the slightest bit nauseous from being hit, I would suggest you don't look at the ground much. It's a bit messy." Naruto's eyes widened a bit at that. He suddenly sat upright, regretting it slightly due to the way the movement made the world spin. "Kazuhana-san!" Hinata jumped up and ran to the fallen dragon, wincing at the condition of the broken arm. She used her medical jutsu to examine Kazuhana. "She has a concussion and her arm is broken in 2 places. I can't fix it. I don't have the skill," she said, her voice filled with regret. Kakashi looked up. "Sakura, is Tenten well enough for you to take a look at this?" "Hi," Sakura replied, leaving Sasuke to watch over the weapon's mistress. She gritted her teeth when she noticed that not only was the arm bent the wrong way, but part of the bone was glaring at her through an open wound near the break. "I can't do it either. I've never had a broken bone that was so severe." Niji's expression was solemn. "And there's no way we can carry her back." "Sakura, can you wake her so she can shape-shift to her more manageable form?" Kakashi asked. "I can try," Sakura replied. She laid her hands on the dragon's forehead and concentrated. After a moment, Kazuhana's eyes slowly opened. The first thing Kazuhana did was attempt to move, but her broken arm protested and she howled in pain. She chanced a look at her arm and her expression became horrified. "Oh, Kami-sama!" she cried as tears rolled down her cheeks. Never in her life had she received an injury anywhere close to this, and she was quite close to panic as seeing her bones sticking through her skin. "Kazuhana-san, calm down. If you get hysterical, Helping will be a lot harder, Sakura said in a soothing tone. As Kazuhana forced herself to take deep breaths, Naruto frowned and realized something for the first time. Kazuhana had not been raised as a fighter. She hadn't been trained in pain tolerance or meditation techniques. She knew some jutsu, but she'd obviously been taught without the expectation of her actually ever using it. Naruto suddenly felt bad for dragging her into the fight. Kazuhana-san, Naruto's words were cut off as he heard Lee's voice coming from his right. We're here! Lee shouted as he and the Umbu came into view. He stopped short, however, when he saw the scene before him. Did you defeat him? He asked in shock. Kakashi nodded. Yes, but now we need to take care of the wounded. Lee and the Umbu nodded and walked forward. Be careful where you step, Kakashi warned as he nodded toward the ground. Lee made a face but managed to keep his lunch in his stomach. Are any of you medics? Sakura asked. A man stepped forward. I am. Do you have any experience at fixing something like this? Sakura asked while pointing to Kazuhana's arm. The medic raised an eyebrow. Not on a dragon, I haven't. Kazuhana-san, can you shift to your human form? Sakura asked hopefully. Kazuhana was obviously struggling to hold back tears, but she managed to answer in spite of the searing pain. I don't know. But I will attempt it. Sakura nodded and pulled a small square of fabric from her hip pack. She unfolded it to reveal a thin medical blanket and used it to cover Kazuhana. Hinata, can you help me dull the pain? Hi, Hinata answered. As Hinata and Sakura worked to numb her arm, Kazuhana began to change shape. She did it slowly, one part at a time, saving the broken arm for last. As it began to change, she screamed but continued on. At last the transformation was complete, and her now human skin was covered in perspiration from the effort. Hinata stroked the dragon's forehead. Good job, she said with a warm smile. The medic Nin took a kunai out of the pouch on his hip and held out the handle to Kazuhana. Bite down on this and try to bear the pain, he instructed. Kazuhana nodded, fear evident on her face. The medic examined the arm for a bit to determine the best motion to take. Okay, on 3. 1. 2. He suddenly bent her arm back the right way with a sickening crack. Wa! Kazuhana screamed around the kunai handle. Tears of pain streamed down her face. Sakura held her hand. Okay. The worst is over. Shhhh. Just rest. All right. We should take care of the others now, Hinata said. Sakura nodded. Go ahead. I'll finish up here. She looked toward Tenten. She has a concussion, head wound, and some internal bleeding. I managed to stop the bleeding, but you should still take care when lifting her. Inari-kun lost a finger. I've reattached it as best I could, but Tsunade-sama should check over my work. Gai-sensei and Naruto only have concussions, and Niji may have some pulled muscles. Niji rolled his eyes. I'm fine. Sakura frowned but went back to her work. Hinata helped the Umbu move Gai onto a stretcher and then helped to lift Tenten. Once Tenten was on the stretcher, Hinata used a clean white cloth to wipe some of the dried blood from the girl's mouth. Can I help? Sasuke asked suddenly. Hinata looked surprised for a moment but nodded. Of course. She pointed toward the stretcher. You take that end. As Sasuke grabbed onto the wooden poles at the rear of the stretcher, Hinata picked up the front. Kakashi-sensei, we're going ahead, she announced. Be careful, Kakashi said. Hinata nodded. Hi! And with that she and Sasuke headed out. Kazuhana, can you stand? Sakura asked as two more Umbu left carrying Gai. Kazuhana bit her lower lip. Her expression said she really didn't want to walk, but she knew it would make it easier on everyone. I think so. She gingerly got to her feet while pulling the medical blanket up with her, swaying a bit when she stood to her full height. Naruto and Niji steadied her. I'm okay. The world just spun for a moment. The Umbu leader, who was the only Umbu left at the scene, took off her vest and put it on Kazuhana. There, she said as she snapped it shut, this should hold that blanket on you so you stay covered. Thank you, Kazuhana said gratefully. She looked behind her. Someone should wake Tomoyo-san, she said as Sakura put her arm in a sling. Lee gently shook Tomoyo's shoulder. Tomoyo-san, it's time to leave. Tomoyo opened her eyes and looked around. You won already? Kakashi laughed. Yes, love. Is everyone alive? Tomoyo asked. So far, Niji answered. Tomoyo stretched and stood up. Well, I pretty much fully recovered from our trip. I'll flash back to Konoha and tell them you're coming. How many injuries should I report? 5. Gai-sensei, Tenten, Inari, Kazuhana, and Naruto. Tenten is the worst off. She had internal bleeding, Sakura said. Tomoyo nodded. Okay. I'll see you back at the village. She put her hand into the rabbit seal and was gone. I'll carry Kazuhana, said the leader as Inari walked over to the group. It would be indecent for any of the men to carry her considering her outfit, and Sakura needs her hands free in case someone needs medical attention. Agreed, Naruto said. I'll carry Inari. Kakashi shook his head. You have a concussion. Not to mention you have to make your report to the daimyo. Oh, right. Sorry, I'm still getting used to this whole diplomat thing, Naruto said. Let's go. Climb on my back, Lee said to Inari. Okay, Inari said as he did as instructed. Thank you, everyone. You saved my life, he said with a grateful smile. Naruto smiled also. That's what friends do. Kakashi collected Haiden's body, Lee put Inari on his back and the group left the field of battle. Naruto headed for town to speak with the daimyo and the rest, to Konoha. As Naruto began his run, he laughed a little in spite of what had occurred. Compared to this, the Chunin exam will be a piece of cake. Chapter 37. Naruto was definitely preoccupied as he leapt from tree to tree on his way to meet with the daimyo. As he moved, his thoughts dwelled on his father and the conversation they'd had. He had been so sure that it was real, but now he wondered if it were possible that it was just a very vivid dream. Toussaint. Was it really you? He reactivated the genjutsu to hide his teeth and entered the city limits. Tazuna's throat tightened in worry when he saw only Naruto returning with his grandson nowhere in sight. Naruto-kun! He called out as he waved at the blonde. Tazuna! Naruto said with a smile. Tazuna's face lit up with hope. You seem happy, does that mean? Naruto nodded. Inari's alive. His face fell a little. He's hurt though. One of the enemy ninjas cut off his right pinky finger. Ignoring Tazuna's shocked expression, he continued. Sakura reattached it, but the finger could still die. Tazuna pressed his lips together and closed his eyes as he let out a long breath to compose himself. Where is he? Sakura and the others took him back to Konoha to let my mom have a look at his finger. You came to Konoha with me when I'm done here, Naruto said. Tazuna nodded. Arigato, Naruto-kun. He smiled. You're making a habit of saving my family. Naruto chuckled. You're welcome. I'll be right back. Gotta make my report, and then we can get out of here. Arigato, Naruto-kun. You have done my country a great service. I'm pleased you were also able to save your friend. But most of all, you prevented my son from being kidnapped, and now I have the chance to do things right, Kyoha said, his voice filled with gratitude. Is he here? Naruto asked as he glanced around the room. He is with his adoptive family for the moment. Once we've concluded our business, I will explain everything to him and ask his family to move into the palace. Kyoha picked up a small scroll and handed it to Naruto. What's this? Naruto asked with a curious expression. It's a letter to your mother expressing how pleased I am at your diplomacy skills. You did well, and I think you will make a fine Hokage one day, Kyoha said with a warm smile. Naruto pumped his fist into the air and whooped loudly. Yes. He calmed down quickly when he realized how his behavior might look to his host. Gomen. Kyoha chuckled. It's fine. Training or no training, you're still 14. Naruto bowed. Arigato. Narumi-san, Kyoha called out. Narumi poked her head in. Hi. Please pay Naruto for his services. Narumi nodded and disappeared for a moment before returning with an envelope. She handed it to Naruto, bowed to him slightly, and left the room. I hope to see you again one day, Naruto. You are an extraordinary young man, Kyoha said with a warm smile. Naruto smiled in kind. And you as well, Daimyo-sama. Tazuna looked sideways at Naruto for the 5th time. His traveling companion had been uncharacteristically quiet, and it was starting to unnerve him. Nay, Naruto-kun. You okay? Naruto seemed to come out of a trance. HM? Yeah, I'm fine. Just thinking about some things. Anything I could help with? Naruto shook his head. Nah. Thanks though. Tazuna nodded. Of course. Tsunade looked up from her examination of Inari's finger and smiled. You did an excellent job, Sakura. His finger will be fine. Inari breathed a sigh of relief. Sakura beamed with pride. Arigato, Shursho. Guy and Niji are fine. The only one I'm still concerned about is Tenten, Tsunade said with a frown. Sakura lost her smile. She still hasn't woken up? I'm gonna wait for my grandpa in the hall, Inari announced just before leaving the room. Tsunade was grateful for Inari's gesture and waited until the door closed to continue. She noticed the dejected look on her student's face. It's nothing you did, Sakura. As far as I can see, she should be waking up. Is Sasuke still in there? Tsunade smiled sadly. He hasn't left her side. 10 hours later, Tazuna stepped through the doors of Konoha Hospital to see his grandson sitting in the waiting room. Inari, he called out. Inari looked up from the bench he was sitting on. Grandpa. He ran to Tazuna and hugged him tightly. My precious grandson, Tazuna said as tears made their way to his eyes. He then released the hug and looked at Inari's finger, frowning at the red scar line that surrounded the injury site. I'll be okay, Grandpa. Tsunade-sama said I won't lose my finger, Inari said with a reassuring smile. He turned to Naruto. Arigato, Naruto and Ai-san, he said as he hugged the older boy. Tazuna smiled happily. We should get home. Your mother is very worried, he said to Inari. Inari broke the hug and nodded. Hi. Ja na. Ja, Naruto replied. Once they were out of sight, Naruto asked the front desk where his brother was. Sasuke looked to the door to see if anyone was coming. Once he was satisfied there was no one around, he reached forward and stroked Tenten's cheek. Please wake up, he whispered softly. He wanted so badly to see her open her eyes. The only girl he had ever been even remotely interested in was potentially close to death, and it made his stomach tighten to the point where he felt sick. I still haven't told you everything. I haven't told you all my feelings. Please, Sasuke said as his eyes misted over. Suddenly an alarm sounded and Sasuke whipped his head to the side to see the heart monitor had none of the small pulses on it that had been there a moment ago. No! He bolted for the door and opened it in one swift motion. Help! I need help here now. Naruto was on his way to Tenten's room when his mother and 4 other medical staff suddenly blew by him. He ran after her and quickly caught up. What's going on? Tenten's flatlining, Tsunade replied shortly. Naruto's eyes widened. What? He joined Tsunade in making short work of the lengthy hallway, and they burst through the door of Tenten's room to find Sakura already working feverishly on healing her friend. What happened? Tsunade demanded as the medical cart was quickly rolled up to Tenten's bed. I don't know. I can't find what's wrong, Sakura replied in a panic as she moved out of the way to allow Tsunade access. Tsunade's expression twisted in confusion as she moved her glowing hands over Tenten's body. This doesn't make any sense. What the hell is going on? Sakura grabbed the defibrillator paddles and put them on Tenten's chest. Clear, she said. The paddles charged to life and Tenten's body jumped from the shock. A faint heartbeat bounced on the green line of the heart monitor. Tsunade turned to one of the nurses. Get me Hyuga Hinata. Now. A minute later Hinata came running into the room, her already activated, and looked Tenten over. Suddenly she pointed to her stomach. There. Her chakra veins in her stomach have been pinched closed. How in the hell? Tsunade questioned in shock. Can you fix that? Sasuke asked desperately, his eyes wide pleading with the teenaged Hyuga. I can try, Hinata said quickly. Her hands glowed green and she got to work. How did they do this? When did they do this? Sasuke paced impatiently. He was furious with himself for not being able to help, and the weight was making it worse. He couldn't look at Tenten. He was afraid if he did he might lose it. Sweat rolled down Hinata's forehead as she pushed herself as hard as she could to pull off something that she had not been trained to do. She pushed her Byakugan further and suddenly noticed that the reason she could not open the chakra veins was that they were sewn closed with microscopic black tendrils. Naruto kept an eye on Sasuke, watching for any signs that he might crack. He put a hand on his shoulder. Just hang on, Nisan. Hina-chan can do this. I know she can. Sasuke barely heard his younger brother. Kami-sama, please. Hinata had set to work on snapping the tendrils. It was slow going, but she was making progress. Once the tendrils were gone, she reinflated the veins with a bit of her own chakra. Finally, she stood up and faced the group of onlookers. She should be fine. Now, she said in between heavy breaths before collapsing to the floor unconscious. Hina-chan! Naruto cried as he ran to her. He cradled her in his arms as Tsunade checked her pulse. Tsunade stood up with a smile. She's alright. Just exhausted. Once Sasuke saw Hinata was alright, he walked over to Tenten, scooped up her hand and held it tight. He looked with grateful tears in his eyes at Hinata's sleeping form. I wish I could thank her, he said softly to Naruto. Naruto smiled. You can when she wakes up, he said as he stroked Hinata's forehead. He was so proud of her. I'm gonna take her to an empty bed till she wakes up. He lifted her and smiled at Sasuke before leaving the room. Everyone turned their head in Tenten's direction when they heard a faint moan. Sasuke sat down on the chair next to her bed. Tenten? Tenten managed to force her eyes open. Sasuke? She looked at the group of people around her. What happened? Tsunade fielded the question. Apparently at some point one of your attackers closed off the chakra veins in your stomach. Somehow Hinata managed to repair the damage. She's resting in another room. How did they do something like that? Tenten asked. Tsunade shook her head. I have no idea. We'll have to wait until Hinata wakes up and ask her. She clamped a hand on Tenten's arm. Glad to see you awake, she said with a smile. Tenten returned the smile. Arigato. Tsunade stood straighter. All right, everyone, let's leave so she can get some rest. May I stay a little longer, Tsunade-sama? Sasuke asked, his eyes pleading. Tsunade smiled. For a few minutes. Once they were gone, Sasuke turned back to face Tenten. How do you feel? Like hell, but I'll live, she said with a bemused smile. Sorry for scaring you like that. Sasuke was surprised. How do you know what happened? I don't, but I do know there wouldn't have been so many doctors and nurses in here if I hadn't almost died, Tenten replied with a grimace. Sasuke swallowed hard. I'm sorry. For what? I couldn't help you. All I could do was stand there and wait, Sasuke answered with a frown. Tenten smiled. You're not a medic. I wouldn't expect you to be able to heal me. It's okay. Sasuke looked out the window for a moment, and then turned back. Tenten, there's something. He sighed. Something I need to tell you. Tenten cocked her head a little. HM? You remember what we talked about after I punched Niji? Tenten's cheeks took on a slight tinge of pink. Yeah. I didn't tell you everything. And when I thought you could die, the idea that I hadn't bothered me. I'm not really good at this kind of stuff, but I love you. He ignored Tenten's wide eyes. If you want me to leave, I understand. I'm not exactly the most sensitive guy in the world and I have problems keeping my anger under control and… His words were cut off when Tenten pulled his head down to hers and captured his lips in a crushing kiss. Tenten's mind was spinning with delight as she kissed Sasuke the way she'd been wanting to for weeks. Her body was alive with electricity. She felt happy and warm. Finally, she pushed his head back and smirked. You talk too damn much. Sasuke smiled and kissed her again. For the first time in his life, he looked forward to the future and saw how bright it could be. Chapter 38. Tsunade walked into the room Hinata was in, saw her sitting up, and smiled. You look like you're feeling better, she remarked cheerfully. Hinata smiled sleepily. Hi. Just a little tired. Hey, Ka-san, Naruto greeted from his place in the chair next to Hinata's bedside. Naruto, I need you to come with me to Kazahana's room, Tsunade said, her tone suddenly serious. So what's up? Naruto asked his mother, as she led him down the hall. Kazahana's father is here, Tsunade replied. Naruto looked at Tsunade with concern. Why? I'm not sure. But I would guess it has something to do with today's events. Naruto was very nervous. He had no idea what was going to happen, but he was fairly sure that it wouldn't be good. They took a left, and continued until they got to the end of the hall. When they opened the door, Naruto saw a man who looked to be in his mid-50s, with a long, white beard, green eyes and the same blue gem in his forehead as his daughter. He wore a long black kimono with curls of smoke painted in white along the front panels. He carried himself with an air of authority as he walked toward Naruto. So this is the young man responsible for my daughter's current condition, he said with an even stare. Dad, Kazahana snapped. It was obvious she disapproved of her father's words. Young lady, you will be silent, the older dragon said with a firm tone. Kazahana glared at her father but said nothing else. Tsunade spoke up. Naruto, this is Soyuke's Kazahana's father. Naruto swallowed and bowed deeply. It's an honor to meet you, Soyuke-san, he said with a bit of nervousness in his voice. Soyuke seemed to relax a bit, but his face remained stern. Tsunade-sama has told me what happened in the country of the wave. When I agreed to allow you to be my daughter's subordinate, I told her she was not to attempt battle until she had completed her fight training. Were you aware of this, Naruto? Naruto's eyes went wide. No, sir. I had no idea. He bowed again. I'm very sorry. Soyuke seemed to consider this for a moment. You seem like a good young man, but even so I must tell you that I am here to take her home, and she will not be returning to you for several months. Naruto looked dismayed. But... Soyuke's put his hand up to stop Naruto from speaking. That is my decision. She is not ready for this. That she was hurt this badly is proof enough. I will be assigning you another of my clan until Kazahana has completed her training. Naruto sighed. I won't interfere in what you want to do, but can I say something? The old dragon cocked an eyebrow. He wasn't used to his decisions being debated. I suppose. Kazahana hasn't finished her training, but from day one she's been a great battle partner. She's good at knowing what I need her to do, thinking on her feet, and she even saved my life once. Yeah, she got hurt badly, but that's always a danger even if you're a good fighter. Naruto paused for a moment. I guess what I'm saying is please try not to be too hard on her, he finished with a downcast look in his eyes. Soyuke sighed but offered Naruto a small smile. I will take your words into consideration. He turned to his daughter. It's time to go. Yes, Dad. Can I say goodbye? Kazahana asked quietly. Of course, Soyuke said graciously. Kazahana rose from the bed and stood before Naruto. I'm really sorry about all this. I should have told you about my training. Naruto smiled. That's okay. Hurry up and finish so you can come back. He gave her a quick hug and Kazahana moved to stand next to her father. Ja, Kazahana said quietly. Soyuke's gave a final nod of farewell and the two vanished in a puff of smoke. Tsunade gave Naruto's shoulder a squeeze. Don't worry, she'll be back, she said with a smile. Naruto nodded. I know. Hey, Hina-chan, Naruto said as he gave Hinata a kiss on the forehead. Hello, Hinata replied with a sleepy smile. Tsunade pulled a second chair next to the bedside, swiveled it around and sat down, resting her arms on the chair back. You feel up to giving a report? Hinata nodded. Hi. She sat up a little straighter. When we were fighting Kakuzu, he had some strange black tendrils he used to fight us and to sew some of his body parts on, she said with a wince. Somehow during the fight he managed to use the tendrils to sew the veins in Tenten-san's stomach shut. What? Tsunade exclaimed. When did he have time? I never saw him even touch her stomach, Naruto said. Hinata's eyes flashed wide. When he hit her with that water jutsu. Huh? Naruto questioned. He must have embedded tiny pieces of those tendrils into the water, and when it hit her, Hinata said. The tendrils attacked, Tsunade finished with a frown. She stood and stretched a bit. I'm assuming they're keeping you overnight for observation? She asked Hinata. Hi. Father will be picking me up in the morning, Hinata replied. Rest well. You deserve it, Tsunade said with a small smile. In the meantime, I have an annoying talking head in my jail that needs my personal attention, she said dryly. Naruto snickered. I'm gonna stay with Hina-chan. Naruto-kun, you don't have to. I'm fine, Hinata said with a bit of pink on her cheeks. Naruto smiled and lovingly touched her cheek. I know. But I just feel better if I'm here to make sure. Hinata smiled. Well, I'll leave you two lovebirds alone. Night, brat, Tsunade said to Naruto as she tousled his hair. Night, Kasen, Naruto replied. Tsunade left the room, and Naruto and Hinata attempted to get some sleep. A lot of thoughts swam in Naruto's mind as he tried to sleep on the cot he'd been given by one of the nurses. The battle, Tenten's brush with death. But the thought that was now at the forefront of his mind was his father. Has he really seen him? As he closed his eyes and thought about their very short conversation, a strong yearning pulled on his heart. After roughly 20 minutes of watching the clouds drift over the full moon out the window, he got an idea. He stood up and checked on Hinata. Smiling in satisfaction at the steady rise and fall of her chest, he tenderly stroked her cheek and left the room. In the moonlit hospital courtyard, Naruto sat under a large tree and sat down, folding his legs underneath himself. He slowed his breathing and closed his eyes. Within seconds he was in the prison dream escape of the seal. For a moment he didn't dare open his eyes. He was afraid that if he did he would be proven wrong. He slowly cracked one eye open to see his father leaning against the wall of Kyuubi's cage, smirking at him in amusement. So? Are you just gonna sit there all day? Minato teased. Naruto's eyes opened completely. Grinning wider than he ever had in his life, he jumped up, ran to his father, and threw his arms around him. He felt as though his heart might explode from the sheer level of joy he felt. "To-san." Minato put his arms around his son, closed his eyes and sighed in contentment. "Naruto," he said softly. "My boy. I wasn't dreaming. You're really here," Naruto said as the tears began to flow. He wanted to stay in the moment for as long as he could. So this was what it was like to be hugged by a father. Now that he knew what he had been missing out on, he thought of his younger years with renewed disdain. Minato smiled. "Yeah." He released the hug and pushed Naruto back a bit. "Let me get a good look at you. You're so tall. How old are you now?" Naruto sniffed and wiped his eyes. "Almost 15. Minato's eyes misted over. "So much, I've missed so much. I'm so sorry for not being there for you." Naruto was silent for a moment before speaking. "I was angry at you at first. Anger you stuck me with the Kyuubi, and then left me all alone. I didn't even know my real last name till I turned 14. He let out a relaxing sigh. "But when Ka-san told me..." Minato got a strange look on his face and cut him off. "Your mother?" "Naruto, that's impossible. She died in my arms," he said with a tightness in his throat. Naruto winced. "Not my real mom. I got adopted last year," he explained with a small smile. Minato's eyebrows rose. "Really? By who?" Naruto's smile brightened. "Tsunade." Minato's face split into a wide smile. "I'm glad it's her. She's like an older sister to me." His expression changed to one of confusion. "But I wonder why she took so long to do it." "She didn't know I was your son until a couple days before I did. Jiraiya had told her I died," Naruto said with an irritated frown. Minato's face mirrored his son's. "I remember now. It was the old man's idea. I had a lot of enemies, so he convinced me it was best. Anyway, what did Tsunade tell you?" "Oh. She told me you did it to protect me and to save everyone. So, now I'm not angry anymore. I'm just happy to see you," he said as a few more tears made their way down his face. He thought it best to leave out the fact that he had already taken his feelings out on Jiraiya. Minato smiled. "Let's go somewhere a little less depressing. The scenery around them rippled and changed to the field they'd been in the first time he had appeared to Naruto. Much better. So how did you get here anyway? I remember you said it was because of what Orochimaru did, but… Naruto began as they sat down on the grass. To be more precise, it was because Kyuubi died. My deal with the Death God was that he would hold on to my soul in exchange for sealing Kyuubi. When Kyuubi died, the deal was no longer valid, so the Death God released me. Minato looked around. I'm not completely sure why I'm here instead of in the afterlife, but it could be something to do with the connection created by the seal. Naruto seemed to consider this for a moment. He was about to comment when his father said something else. You know. It's odd, Minato said with a confused expression as he looked around the area. Kyuubi's not here, but I still sense an abnormal chakra. Naruto looked at Minato. That would be my chakra. Minato's confusion had now increased by several levels, but his expression was slowly taken over by a look of concern. What's happened to you? Naruto put up a hand. I'm okay, Tsusan. He sighed. This is gonna take some time to explain. Minato cocked an eyebrow. Don't let me stop you. The next morning, Ino, Chuji, and Nao were sparring in preparation for the Chunin exam when Kurenai stalked up to them in a huff. They could feel killing intent pouring off the woman. Have any of you seen my idiot husband? All three teenagers quickly shook their heads. Kurenai sighed angrily and walked off in a new direction. Once she was out of sight, Ino noticed Asuma's head slowly emerging from behind a tree. Asuma-sensei? Asuma's finger immediately went to his lips. SHHHH. She's trying to get me to have a family photo taken. It was well known in the village that Asuma hated getting his picture taken with a burning passion, and so Ino snickered in understanding. Why not? Nao asked with a shrug. It's pretty painless. Have you seen pictures of me? Asuma whispered loudly. It's amazing I haven't broken every camera in Konoha. He folded his arms defiantly. And it doesn't count as a family photo if our child isn't born yet. Suddenly the killing intent that had been felt earlier was back and right behind Asuma. Oh really? Kurenai growled. Asuma's face wore a sheepish, fear-laden smile as he turned around to face his wife. Why yo? Love. Don't you love me? You'll have that picture taken or I'll make you hold my hand while I give birth. She moved her face menacingly. And you know how strong my grip is. Images of crushed fingers running through his head made Asuma quickly change his tune. Okay. Kurenai grabbed Asuma's hand and pulled him away. Chuji shook his head slowly. Poor Asuma-sensei. Ino cocked an eyebrow and folded her arms. Serves him right for trying to get out of doing something important. Nao chose to stay out of it. In her opinion, it was better not to take sides. Why don't we get back to training? I want to do our best for the exam, she said cheerfully. Ino's expression flickered with mild annoyance, but she nodded anyway. Sure. But they were interrupted yet again when they were approached by a rather annoyed-looking Shikamaru. Have you guys seen Naruto? Godame-sama is looking for him, he asked dully. Ino smirked. Have you tried Hinata's hospital room? Shikamaru rolled his eyes. That was the first place I checked. The late morning sun had finally managed to creep over the edge of the buildings making up the hospital courtyard and lit up Naruto's face. He stirred slightly but did not come out of his trance. Minato leaned against a large tree, his arms folded in thought. Finally he sighed heavily and shook his head. Wow. Naruto nodded in agreement. Yeah. So the chakra change is definitely permanent? Naruto nodded again. How are you handling it? Minato asked with a frown. He knew his son would have had trouble just dealing with his family's extreme chakra levels without him, but to add even more to that, he couldn't even imagine what Naruto had been through. Well, it was pretty hard for about 6 months. In fact, it almost killed me, Naruto replied with a grimace. Minato's eyebrows knitted together in concern. How? Are you still in danger? I'm okay now, but in the beginning it was destroying my chakra system because of the overflow. Ka-san helped me fix it though. She taught me Suzu so I could heal myself and get rid of the extra at the same time. Minato visibly relaxed. As long as you're alright. A thought occurred to him, and he looked off to the skyline. Hey, I just thought of this. I know I don't really have the right to ask it considering what you've been through lately, but. What? Naruto prodded. I'd like to talk to Tsunade, but to do that I'd need to take over your body for a little bit. If you don't want to let me know, I understand. It would probably even make me uncomfortable. It's okay too, San. I don't mind, Naruto replied with a smile. Minato grinned. She's going to have a heart attack. Shikamaru pursed his lips in annoyance and shook Naruto for the third time. Get up! I don't have time for this. Naruto groaned and his eyes fluttered open. Shikamaru? What's up? He asked as he stretched his joints. Tsunade-sama's been looking for you for over an hour, Shikamaru answered with a frown. Naruto yawned. Oh, that's good actually. I need to see her anyway. Tsunade looked up from her paperwork when she heard the knock on the door. Come in. Naruto walked in and stood in front of the desk. Hey, Ka-san. Tsunade stood up. Well, it's about damn time. What did you need me for? Naruto asked. You have paperwork to do, Tsunade replied, waving her hand over the stack of papers on her desk. Naruto smiled. I think you're gonna want to wait on that. Tsunade cocked an eyebrow. And why is that? Naruto's hands came together. Henge. There was a puff of smoke and Naruto became a perfect replica of Minato. Tsunade frowned. What are you doing? Hey, Tsunade, said Minato. It's been a long time. Now Tsunade looked angry. Naruto, this isn't funny. Minato's face became serious. It's really me, Tsunade. This isn't a joke. When Kyuubi died, the death god let go of my soul, and for some reason I haven't figured out yet, it was transferred into the seal. Naruto is letting me use his body so I can talk to you. Tsunade's eyes widened, but she still looked skeptical. Okay then. If you're really Minato, then you know how long Jiraiya and I dated. Minato cocked an amused eyebrow. Oh please, Tsunade. You wouldn't date Jiraiya. You decked him every time he tried to ask you out. Tsunade's eyes watered. Minato-kun. She laughed in joy and pulled him into a crushing hug. I never dreamed I would see you again in this life. Tsunade, stop hugging so tight, you're going to kill Naruto, Minato gasped. Tsunade released her grip. Sorry, she said as she wiped her eyes. So you're Hokage now. I never figured you for the leader type, Minato commented with a wry smile. Tsunade smiled in kind. Well, you have your son to thank for that one. Oh? He has the same power you did, the power to make people believe in him, Tsunade said wistfully. Minato grinned. That's good to hear. How's Jiraiya? Perverted as usual, Tsunade said with a laugh. She sighed and her expression turned serious. Now I know you wouldn't have asked your son to hand over control of his body unless it were something important. So what's going on? Minato sighed. This may sound trivial to you at first, but hear me out. He sat down in the chair in front of Tsunade's desk. Naruto told me that most of the villagers don't know who he is. Tsunade nodded. Sandaime-sama felt it was best. He thought it would keep Naruto safe from your enemies. Naruto is almost 15 and very capable of defending himself. I want you to tell the village who he really is. Tsunade's expression became uneasy. Are you sure that's a good idea? He already has Akatsuki after him. Minato nodded. It's time, Tsunade. Tsunade sighed. All right. I guess it's your decision. Minato put a reassuring hand on Tsunade's shoulder. He'll be fine. He's my son after all. Tsunade nodded. All right. But after the Chunin exams. I don't want his lineage tainting the results. That's reasonable. Well, I think I'll let my son have his body back, Minato said with a chuckle. It was good seeing you again, Tsunade said as she gave him another hug. You too, Minato broke the hug and cancelled the henge, leaving Naruto in his place. You heard what we said? Tsunade asked her son. Naruto nodded. What do you think? Naruto thought for a moment. I think it'll be nice not to hide who my parents are anymore. Tsunade smiled. I suppose it would be. Why don't we go get some lunch? Work can wait for now. Naruto smiled and the two left the office. The days seemed to fly by and suddenly the Chunin exam was only a week away. Naruto was getting edgier and edgier as time went on. He was determined to pass this time. And the pressure was starting to take its toll. Damn it! Naruto swore at the bottle of ibuprofen in his hand. Hinata looked up from where she was reading on Tsunade's couch. What's the matter? This stupid child-proof cap. Naruto growled as he cranked it sideways and it stubbornly continued to click in defiance. Hinata sighed. She'd gotten used to his outburst over the last few weeks. She simply stood up, walked over to Naruto, casually took the bottle and opened it. If you'd just calm down you wouldn't get so frustrated. Naruto sighed, half in frustration from Hinata so easily opening the bottle and half because she was right. Sorry, Hina-chan. I'm just really nervous about the exams. I can't let Gaara stay ahead of me. Hinata smiled. I know. And you'll make it this time. I have faith in you, she said as she gave him a hug. Naruto smiled. What would I do without you? Hinata giggled. I don't know. I'd be miserable, that's what, Naruto said just before kissing her. The morning of the Chunin exam was a mess of wind and rain. Naruto yawned as he looked out the window. Perfect, he thought with a groan. The exam is being held in the rain village, so today it is raining. He threw off the covers. Damn it, I hate ironic crap. The knock on his bedroom door made Naruto's muscles tense in annoyance. You gotta be freaking kidding me. I haven't even taken a leak yet, he grumbled as he headed to the door. He opened it to find Sakura waiting for him. He whined. Sakura held back a giggle when she saw his bed hair. Kakashi wants us to run a few drills before we leave for the exam. Naruto groaned. I've been training my ass off for the last 2 weeks. You can tell Kakashi to piss off, he said groggily as rain pelted the side of the house. Sakura shook her head. Okay, but he's not gonna like it. She smiled. Are you ready to be a Chunin? SHHH. You're gonna jinx all of us. Naruto hissed. Izumi suddenly came into view. Excuse me, Naruto-sama, breakfast will be ready in 10 minutes. Naruto sighed. Thanks, Izumi-san. I'll be down soon. Izumi nodded with a smile and left. Well, Sasuke-kun and I are gonna be training till noon, so feel free to join us if you change your mind, Sakura said. Probably not, but thanks anyways, Naruto replied with a yawn. Ja, Sakura said with a wave. Ja, Naruto replied. As soon as Sakura was out of sight, Naruto headed for the bathroom. There was a knock on Naruto's bedroom door, and he looked up from packing some clothes into his backpack. Yeah? Kakashi's here, Tsunade said as she opened the door. You about Setsugaki? Naruto sighed. I guess so. Tsunade smiled. Don't worry. I have a very good feeling about the exams. Thanks, Ka-san, Naruto said with an appreciative smile. Why don't you head downstairs? Izumi packed you a lunch for the trip. Aren't you coming? Of course I am your dipstick, but I need to wait for my escort, Tsunade replied with an expression of displeasure. Naruto laughed. Like you need one. Try telling that to the village elders, Tsunade said with a roll of her eyes. Now get going. I'll see you there. Naruto nodded and left to join his team. It's about time, done, Sasuke said as Naruto came out the front door. Shut up, Naruto replied shortly as he hoisted his bag higher up on his shoulder. Enough bickering, Kakashi said. If you're going to pass the exams this time, you'll need to work as a team. He waited a moment for his words to sink in. All right. Let's move out. And with that, Team Kakashi began their journey to Amigakure. Chapter 39. A large group of genin stood in a clearing near a large group of mountains a few miles outside of Amigakure. A female aimed jounin stood facing the group, a clipboard in her hand. The Amikage sends his regrets for not being here. He had business to attend to, she said. She paused to clear her throat. This is where you show us what you're really made of. You've all passed the information gathering part of the exam and shown your fighting prowess in the arena. Now it's time to demonstrate your leadership skills. Naruto's stomach was twisting into knots, but at the same time he was excited. Somehow he had a feeling he was going to pass this time. This will be different from previous Chunin exam finals. They have finally been changed to make sure leadership skills are focused on. You will be divided into 2 groups. Each group will be given a base to defend and will be accompanied by a jounin examiner. Your goal is to capture the scroll hidden in the other team's base. If your team loses the exercise, you still have a chance to become a Chunin. We are looking at your performance during the exercise. Winning is not a requirement, but we do ask that you try your best. The box next to me contains blue and green cubes. The color cube you pull indicates the team you will be on. Please form a line and take 1 cube from the box. The jounin stepped to one side and the genin stepped up. One by one they all took a cube, and when the selection process was over, Sakura looked longingly at Lee, who was not on her team. Her team did consist, however, of Sasuke, Kiba, Shino, Kankuro, Nao and Shuji. On the other side were Naruto, Lee, Hinata, Ino, Tenten, Temari and Niji. Both teams also had an assortment of genin from other countries. The AIM jounin unfolded a map and laid it out on a stone table in the center of the clearing. Blue team, you will be in the base on the east side of the mountains, she said as she handed a copy of the map to Kankuro. Green team, your base is in the foothills on the west side of the mountains, she said as she handed the other copy of the map to Naruto. This exam will require not only leadership skills, but teamwork as well. The exam will continue until one team is the victor. You have 2 hours to reach your base, secure it, and come up with a plan of attack. Have one person stand guard outside to watch for the flare that will signal the start of the exam. Good luck, and you may now head for your base. The genin all nodded and began to move out. So when do we make our move? Kisame asked his leader. Pain looked at his subordinate. When Toby lets us know Naruto is in a situation where we can capture him without too much trouble. Kisame cocked an eyebrow. It's not like we can't take out a bunch of genin. You're forgetting all the jounin here right now. Not to mention the kages. And many of the shinobi taking the exam may be genin in rank but are nearly jounin in power, Pain replied. Kisame sighed. I just prefer a straight fight to all this sneaking around. It's not my style. He glanced backward at his sword. Besides, Samahata hasn't had anything to snack on in days. What a dump! Kiba complained as he looked over the blue team's base. It was a cave nearly 200 feet up the side of a cliff that had been outfitted with a large wooden door. Kankuro stepped forward. It doesn't matter what it looks like as long as we defend it well. Kiba rolled his eyes. Whatever, he said as he stalked off through the entrance. The examiner shook his head and scribbled something on the paper on his clipboard as the rest of the team went to check out the inside of their base. It's certainly not much, said a female Miss Genin with dark green hair, as she stared at the heavy wooden doors situated in the side of the large hill. Naruto grinned. Doesn't matter, 'cause we're gonna kick ass. The team walked into the base and a male genin with an orange swirled mask and an AIM village headband walked up next to the jounin examiner. He's an interesting person, he remarked. Agreed, said the examiner with a smile. You'd better get inside, she said as she looked through her list of team members. Toby. Toby nodded. Okay. Kiba would have killed to see what the examiner was scribbling on his notepad. He couldn't help but wonder if his earlier outburst had cost him some points. He glanced at him one more time and turned back to the conversation at hand. Sasuke should be on the lookout. Sasuke glared at him. He felt being a lookout was a waste of his skills. And why's that? Because you have the Sharingan, Kiba said as though it should have been obvious. Shino decided to put a stop to the debate before it became a pissing contest. My bugs will be the lookouts. There are many of them, which will give us an advantage. Sasuke nodded in agreement. You should send them out now then. Shino nodded and raised his arms level. Bugs flooded out of his sleeves and left for the outside of the base. Naruto glanced around the cement room they were in. They had had to take several tunnels to get to it, so he knew the maze effect of it all would offer at least some protection from invaders. We should set up some traps outside and then decide on how we want to set up the guard rotation, he said to the entire group. Toby nodded. Sounds good to me, he said in a voice that seemed a little gruff for his age. A female Miss Genin cocked an eyebrow. I think we should decide who our leader is before anyone makes suggestions, she said with a warning tone. Naruto frowned. We're supposed to be working together. The Miss Genin folded her arms. How are leadership skills supposed to be shown if no one is chosen to be leader? I think the point is to see who emerges as the leader type, not to vote on leaders right out of the gate, Temari said. A rock Genin nodded in agreement. I think Blondie here. Naruto interrupted. Naruto, he said with a slightly insulted expression at being called Blondie. Sorry. I think Naruto has a good starting plan at least, the rock Genin finished up. Nods of agreement were seen from all members of the team, and so even the Miss Genin sighed in capitulation. Now frowned at the darkening sky. Shouldn't they have started it by now? She asked Sasuke as they stood outside, watching the horizon. They're probably going to wait till first light, Sasuke answered. We better get some sleep then, Nao said. If we're gonna sleep, we'll need to do it in shifts just in case, Chuji said as he appeared from the shack on the mouth of the cave. I think Shino's bugs will be a good enough alarm system, Sasuke countered. Chuji's mouth twisted in thought. I guess. As the first rays of light began to peek over the mountains, a lone bug raced along the tunnels back to her master. She landed in Shino's right ear and made a frantic clicking sound. Shino's eyes fluttered open and his eyes looked toward the right. After a moment of listening to his insect companion, he nodded. I see. Arigato. He stood up and the bug flew away as he began to wake the rest of his team. Ino's eyes drooped as she watched the sky. She was the last one voted to be on watch, and consciousness was beginning to escape her when she saw a trail of smoke as a huge flare screamed across the heavens and exploded at its zenith. She shook off her exhaustion and bolted into the base. She ran into the main chamber yelling, It's time! It's time! Everyone, get up! The rest of the green team began to stand up as quickly as their sleep-clouded minds would allow. Ah man, Ino, Naruto grumbled as he got to his feet. You woke me up out of the best dream. What was it about? Hinata asked. Naruto looked at his girlfriend and blushed. He cleared his throat. We don't have time for that, he said quickly. Niji cocked an eyebrow but let it drop. Naruto's right. We need to get moving. We'll need a field team and a guard team, a male waterfall genin said. The rest of the group nodded in agreement. Well, either Hinata or Niji should be in the field team. We'll definitely need thee out there, Naruto said. I will volunteer for guard duty, Niji said, figuring there would be a better chance for action nearer the enemy's prize. Okay then, Hina-chan it is, Naruto said with a smile. I want to be in the field team. Lee, how about you? We'll need your speed. Of course, Naruto-kun, Lee replied with his trademark nice guy pose. I will volunteer for the field team, Tobi said, stepping forward. Naruto smiled. Okay. A waterfall genin spoke up. I have a genkai that could be useful. What is it? Temari asked. I can hear over large distances, he answered. Works for me. What's your name? Naruto asked. Tsuyoshi, the waterfall genin answered with a small smile. I suggest Ino for the field team as well. Her body-switching jutsu may help remove a few guards, Niji offered. Naruto nodded. That makes 6 for the field team and 7 for the guard team. I think it's a good balance, Niji said. Let's go, everyone, Hinata said cheerfully. The blue team's field unit held their collective breath as they waited for Inner Sakura to return. They had decided that since the early morning afforded them a lot of shadows, that Sakura's genkai would be the best way to scout the enemy's base. A barely discernible whisper in the wind was all that announced it had returned. Inner Sakura landed in front of the group and gave its report. I saw 2 outside and I suspect there are more within. Sakura frowned. Who's on the outside? Niji and Temari, Inner Sakura answered. Thank you, Sakura said and then released the jutsu. She turned to the others. This is bad. Why? Nao asked. If Niji's on the outside, there's a good chance we've already been seen, Kiba replied with a slight growl to his voice. How could he see us? A female sound genin asked. We can't even see him from here. It's his Genkai, Sakura answered. He can see through solid objects. The Sound Genin's eyes widened but then looked confused. But then why hasn't he alerted the others on guard? He's probably waiting to see what we do, a male rock Genin answered. Sakura, Sasuke said. Do you think Inner Sakura could manage to sneak up on him? Sakura shook her head. He would see the chakra signature easily. I think our best strategy would be to create a distraction of some sort. I could try a genjutsu, the Sound Genin offered. They're my area of expertise. But what kind of illusion would work on someone like Niji? Sakura asked no one in particular. Sasuke's eyes widened. Lava. Kenkuro's eyes narrowed. Lava? Tenten told me about it a few months back. Niji has an extreme fire phobia. He's managed to deal with it for the most part through immersion therapy, but Tenten said that when they had to cross the volcano he froze solid. They had to help him back from the edge, Sasuke replied. Works for me, Sakura said. What's your name? She asked the Sound Genin. The Sound Genin smiled. Kagura. Okay, Kagura. How close do you need to be to your subject? Sakura asked. Maybe about another 50 yards, Kagura answered. That's all? The rock Genin commented in surprise. You've got one hell of a range. Kagura smiled wider. Like I said, genjutsu is my specialty. Niji managed to keep his mask of calm as he watched the group of enemies nearly 400 yards away, but he was starting to get impatient. What were they doing? They hadn't so much as twitched a muscle in the last 15 minutes, and that bothered him. As he was thinking, he began to notice the ground around him waver, and very quickly he was standing on a tiny rock island in the middle of a sea of lava. His eyes went as wide as dinner plates as his muscles stiffened. He felt like he couldn't breathe. It didn't matter that his conscious mind knew it had to be a genjutsu. It was his subconscious that was in control. Temari looked on with confusion at her comrade's sudden change in demeanor. Niji? Niji, are you alright? She reached out and touched his shoulder. When she didn't get a response, she turned her attention to the forest in front of them, scanning it for the other team. This had to be an enemy jutsu. Most likely a genjutsu, she thought. She turned around briefly and swung her fan toward the open cave door, sending a gust of wind inside to alert her teammates. Within seconds, the rest of the guard team appeared. Under his mask, Toby cocked an eyebrow. They only left one guard outside? He remarked in a dubious tone. Naruto frowned. Trust me. Having Shino out there is the same as having a couple hundred guards. He has these bugs that go scouting for him. Bugs? Toby asked. They live inside his body, Ino replied, making a disgusted face. Tsuyoshi winced at the idea of insects living in someone's body. I can try listening for the bugs, he offered. Unfortunately, they're so small I don't think it would be all that helpful even with your Genkai, Hinata said with an apologetic expression. Tsuyoshi frowned in disappointment. He had really hoped that his presence would have been more of an asset. He'd even kept his Genkai active the entire mission, but his chakra reserves were running low, and now he was afraid he would become a burden instead. Suddenly he picked up on a sound to his right, then one from the front, and still another from his left. His eyes widened. His bugs already gave him our location. We're surrounded. What? Lee said with wide eyes. Naruto looked around them but saw no one. He set his jaw. Where are they? He asked. One on each side and one in front, Tsuyoshi replied. They're about 100 meters away. Nice work, Tsuyoshi, Naruto said with a smile. In a tree not far away, an aimed Jounin nodded in approval and added points to Naruto's score. Should we go to them or wait for them to come to us? Lee asked no one in particular. After a moment, Naruto smiled. We're gonna let them come to us, he said. Hina-chan. You remember our mud fight a few months back? Hinata blushed a little. Why, yes. Naruto's grin grew wider. You remember how you won? Chapter 40. A female Cloud Genin slowly made her way toward the Green Team's field unit. She knew her comrades coming in from other directions would meet her in the middle. But as she reached her destination, she saw nothing but her teammates and a clearing with a large, muddy puddle in the middle. What the hell? I know, Chuji said with a confused expression. They should have been here. A female rock genin glanced around and then frowned in irritation. I knew we couldn't trust the directions of a bunch of stupid bugs, she complained. A male cloud genin spoke up. No. He seemed to know what he was talking about. Something's not right here. A genjutsu, maybe? Chuji nodded in agreement, just as the scenery changed. Suddenly, they were surrounded and had no time to react. Kaiten! Rasengan! Between Hinata and Naruto, the blue team was covered in mud in less than 10 seconds, and quite a bit of it had gotten in their eyes. Damn it! I can't see! The male cloud genin complained. Naruto stopped his jutsu. Lee! Go! Lee saluted and ran off toward the base while the others stayed to fight. The rock genin wiped the mud from her eyes, but they were red and watering from irritation. You think that one guy is gonna get past our guards? She spat at the green team. Naruto grinned. He's too fast to be caught by just a couple guards. That scroll is as good as ours. The rock genin glared and the green team attacked. Temari stood tensely as she scanned the forest. Where the hell are they? She thought. Niji watched in horror as the lava surrounding his little island began to rise. When it covered his body, it was more than his mind could take. A female sound genin was about to break Niji out of the genjutsu, but he suddenly screamed and fell over unconscious. What the hell happened? She asked in alarm. Something in the genjutsu must have put him into shock. We'll have to take care of him later, said a female Miss Genin. Damn it, Temari cursed. Suddenly, her shadow came alive as a leg came out of it and kicked her legs out from under her. Inner Sakura stood and the rest of the blue team's field unit ran out to meet her. Tenten stood in a battle stance, kunai at the ready. If you were trying to surprise us, you failed miserably, she said with a smirk. Sakura returned the smirk and folded her arms. Oh no. We succeeded all right. You're a Byakugan user. Tenten nodded. Yeah, she raised the kunai, but you're still going down. Nao's hands went into a seal. Kiba recognized it and smiled. No jutsu. The ground under the green team turned to quicksand, and while the others managed to jump away in time, the sound genin was sucked into the ground up to her neck. Nao released the jutsu and the ground solidified. You're not going anywhere for a while, she said with a smile. But her smile was quickly wiped away as she dodged a barrage of Tenten's shuriken. A rain genin's hands flew through a series of seals. Korihari, Ice Needle, no jutsu. Thousands of ice shards formed from the moisture in the air and rocketed towards Sasuke, who used a fire jutsu to melt them. The rain genin glared in frustration. Damn it, she cursed. Kankuro stepped on a rock that immediately sunk into the ground. His eyes widened as he heard a hissing sound a second before several explosive tags blew up in a circle around him. Aya! He yelled as he was thrown backwards from the blast. After a minute he staggered to his feet. The small explosion seemed to have been designed to incapacitate, rather than kill. He was dizzy and his ears were ringing, but he was otherwise all right. The dizziness quickly got to him though, and he promptly vomited. Suddenly a loud whistle came from the trees and the Jounin examiner leapt down in between the teams. Everyone stand down. The green team is the winner. Cheers broke out from the green team at their base, with the exception of Kankuro, who only managed to smile through his nausea. What? Sakura complained. So quickly? The Jounin smiled. You're welcome to read the reports if you wish. But for now, everyone is to return to Amagakure. With heavy hearts the blue team gathered their incapacitated members and headed to the village. Naruto was grinning like a Cheshire cat when the Jounin made the announcement. The field group for the green team had gotten through the ordeal with only relatively minor injuries. Hinata had a small cut on her arm and everyone else was only bruised. Lee returned proudly holding the blue team's scroll. All right, Lee. Naruto cheered. Tobi stepped closer to Naruto. May I have a word with you in private? He asked quietly so he wouldn't be overheard. Naruto blinked in surprise. Sure. Just let me tell Hina-chan to go ahead without me. Arigato, Tobi answered. Hinata had an uneasy feeling as she walked away from Naruto. They had only met this Toby person a few days ago at the start of the exams, and yet he was asking Naruto to speak in private. What could someone who they barely knew need to talk to Naruto in private about? She suddenly reached out and grabbed Sasuke's sleeve. "Sasuke-kun," she said softly. Sasuke turned to her, a questioning look in his eyes. "HM? Something's wrong. I can sense it. We have to go back and check on Naruto-kun," she said with urgency in her voice. Sasuke frowned. Truthfully, he'd been a little suspicious of Toby from minute one, but he'd convinced himself he was being paranoid. But now that Hinata was also concerned, he decided it was time to act. "Wait here," he said to her. He jogged a little ahead to catch up to Kakashi. "Kakashi-sensei, Hinata and I think Naruto might be in danger." Kakashi cocked his head to one side. "How so?" "That Toby guy. Something about him doesn't seem right, and he asked Naruto to talk to him alone," Sasuke answered. Kakashi cocked an eyebrow. "That's not really enough to make me think Naruto's in danger." "Please. I know I'm right," Sasuke urged. Kakashi sighed and folded his arms. "All right. You round up a few genin and I'll get Tomoyo-chan and Gai-sensei. But we're not bothering any of the higher-ups until we know for sure that there's actually a problem." Sasuke sighed in reluctant agreement and ran off to help Hinata form a group. "So, what's up?" Naruto asked Toby. Toby removed his mask, revealing a man who was much older than the teenager he had pretended to be. This man had to be in his mid-30s at least. Naruto backed up a step. "Who are you?" "Toby," he took a step closer to Naruto. "And you? Are coming with me." "What the hell is going on here?" Naruto said as his eyes flattened into a confused glare. "I'm a member of Akatsuki and I've come for that super cool new chakra of yours." Naruto instantly fell into a fighting stance and activated his Tamagon. As the slitted, purple eyes revealed themselves, Toby cocked an eyebrow in interest. "So the rumors were right. I wonder if your clone will have the same." "Like I'm gonna give you a chance to find out, asshole." Taju, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Instantly there were 500 more Narutos in the area, which came as quite a shock to Kakashi and the others when the clones appeared in front of them. "Naruto," Kakashi said. "What's going on?" "That Toby guy is a member of Akatsuki," one of the clones answered. "Tell the real Naruto we're coming to help," Kakashi commanded. The clone saluted. "Roger," he said before vanishing in a puff of smoke. Kakashi turned to Hinata and Sasuke. "Looks like we don't have time to go for help after all." Naruto smiled when the clone's information reached him. Toby, however, had an incredulous look on his face as he surveyed the clones and folded his arms. "Isn't that cheating?" "You're kidding, right?" Naruto asked in disbelief. "It's like 600 to 1. That's not fair." "Geez, what are you? 5 years old? Don't be such a baby," Naruto countered. "I am not a baby. I'm a ninja. And you're rude." Katan, Bakufu Ranbu no Jutsu. A/N fire release. Blast wave wild dance. A huge spiral of fire burst forth from Toby's mouth, creating a deadly vortex which destroyed about 20 clones in one shot. Naruto managed to jump out of the way, but the instant he landed, Toby burst forth from the ground, sending Naruto high into the air. Naruto yelled in surprise but quickly recovered and managed to flip his body around to the point where he was able to land on his feet. Naruto's clones all dove for Toby at the same time. Katan Tatsumaki, A/N fire release, tornado. A tornado of flames spread from Toby's mouth as he spun in a quick circle, destroying more than a third of the clones as he went. Naruto immediately charged back toward Toby, making a Sujukan bomb as he went. He formed a Rasengan around the bomb and threw it at Toby's midriff. Toby dodged to one side easily. "Ha ha. Too slow. You really are an idiot," he said with a superior tone. Less than a second after his bravado, Toby was kissing dirt thanks to the real Naruto landing on him with the Rasengan Sujukan bomb. The explosion threw Naruto backwards, but the damage was less than the last time he'd used it because he had built up chakra in front of him as a shield to absorb some of the blast. He rolled to a stop just as his friends emerged from the trees. "Naruto-kun!" Hinata yelled as she ran to his side. As soon as she reached him, she began looking over his wounds and healing them as quickly as she could. Hey, Hina-chan, Naruto said with a tired smile. Naruto-kun, Hinata said with worry. I'll be fine. Just finish healing me so I can get back in the fight, Naruto said with a reassuring smile. Hinata took a quick, calming breath. Okay. There really isn't a fight to go back to, Kakashi said to Naruto's right. He pointed at Tobi, who had many broken bones and was unconscious. It would be a miracle if he lived. Sasuke frowned in thought as he looked down at Tobi. Why would Akatsuki accept such a weak member? Kakashi thought for a second. By my count, there were only 3 Akatsuki left after all the members we've defeated. 2 now that this guy's down. Pain must be desperate. Either way, we need to get back to Konoha. Dad, I need to get back to Naruto-kun. We're a team. And I've been training every day for months, Kazuhana pleaded with her father. Soyakase picked up his teacup, took a sip and set it down. It was several seconds before he replied. I know you're ready, Kazuhana, I just don't know that I am. He looked up at her with worry in his eyes. When I saw you in that hospital bed, all my mind could do was replace it with a grave. Kazuhana's expression softened. Dad, I'm 98 years old. You've raised me well, but I'm an adult. You can't protect me from everything forever. Soyakase sighed. Are you sure about that? He answered weakly. Kazuhana smiled and hugged her father with her long, serpentine neck. Yes, but I'll always need you. Pain stood next to Kisame in the trees several hundred yards from the Konoha group. Kisame was fuming. That idiot! He turned to Pain. I told you he wasn't reliable. Pain was the picture of calm. We'll simply have to take care of this ourselves. He looked over at a young man standing next to him who looked identical to Naruto except that he had Kushina's red hair. And when we capture Naruto, you will finally be complete, Oturin. Oturin looked up at Pain. Yes, father. Tsunade looked at the man on the hospital bed in front of her and sighed. She knew she could save him, but her son had left her one hell of a mess to heal. Her hands glowed green as she began the process. The patient's name is Tobi. The family name is unknown. He has 25 broken bones, a severe concussion, and one of the broken ribs has pierced the right lung, she said to a nurse who wrote everything down. Shizen, please inform Kakashi of Tobi's status. The nurse handed Shizen the report. Shizen tucked it under her arm and nodded her head in confirmation. Hi, Tsunade-sama. She left the room and Tsunade continued her work. Oturin sat on top of the Hokage monument and watched the people of Konoha with curiosity. His short life had been filled with nothing but training and speeches about revenge. Even before the day he had awakened for the first time, his mind had been bombarded with programming, but he still felt incomplete. He couldn't explain it, but he felt that somehow whatever could fill the void was among the crowds on the streets of the busy village. Kisame walked up to Oturin and sat next to him. Just think, kid, they have no idea what's about to happen. You'll finally see your first real battle. Yeah, Oturin replied dully. The feeling of ripping your enemy apart, there's nothing like it, Kisame said with a sadistic smile. Would that fill this emptiness I feel? Kisame blinked in confusion. Huh? Oturin sighed and stood. Never mind. And with that, he walked away. Father, tell me again why you're going to destroy Konoha, Oturin said to Pain. Pain cocked a slightly annoyed eyebrow. You know why? Yes, but I just need to hear it again. You're feeling unsure about the plan? Oturin nodded. It was so clear to me before, but after watching the people below, seeing them laughing, smiling, hugging their kids, the whole plan feels wrong now. Pain sighed. He had been battling Oturin's inborn Naruto-like nature from day one. It was tiring. He put a hand on Oturin's shoulder. Even murderers have families, my son. It doesn't change the fact that they committed a terrible sin and must be punished for that. But their kids didn't do anything. Couldn't you let them live? Pain shook his head. Their minds have been corrupted by their parents' twisted values. It's sad, but they must be killed to rid the world of their evil. Oturin sighed. And once I have the chakra, what then? What's my purpose? You will be at my side, helping me change the shinobi world so that no more children will have to grow up without their parents. Like I did. And don't worry. You won't even be fighting today. Just stay on the Hokage monument until I come for you. Oturin reluctantly nodded his head. Okay. Tobi's eyes fluttered open and his gaze came to rest on Tsunade's face. I'm not dead? Tsunade shook her head. No. I healed you. Why? Tobi asked in confusion. We need information. Tobi's expression became defiant. Well, you won't get any out of me. Tobi is a good boy. Like hell you are. Tobi turned his head to see Naruto standing to his right. Good people don't do the shit you've done, Naruto retorted. Good boys do what their sensei tells them. Pain is my sensei, so Tobi is a good boy. Naruto rolled his eyes. PFT, believe whatever you want. Naruto, you're not helping, Tsunade scolded. Naruto sighed. Sorry, Ka-san. Should I get a Biki, Tsunade-sama? Shizen asked. Tsunade shook her head. No. Please get Harino Sakura. Sakura sat down next to Tobi's bed and used the mind transfer jutsu. Tobi went slack for a moment and then Sakura spoke with his mouth. Okay. I'm in. Tsunade nodded in approval. Good luck. Sakura imagined a long hallway with doors on both sides and a moment later they appeared. As she walked down the hall she tried each door. The sixth one was locked so she opened it with a lock-pick jutsu. The scene that greeted her eyes was one of utter chaos. A village roared with flames that engulfed every building. Screams could be heard from every direction as Sakura saw a young boy with black hair running in her direction. He couldn't have been more than 10 years old. Somehow Sakura knew this boy was Tobi. A young woman was lying on her back in the middle of the dirt road. The boy ran to her and shook her shoulder. Ka-san. The woman opened her eyes. Tobi-chan. Get up, Ka-san. Please, Tobi pleaded. A single tear made its way down the woman's face. Gomen eni, Tobi-chan. I can't move anymore. Sakura moved closer to get a better look and winced when she saw that the woman's leg was gone from the thigh down. With the way the situation was, there was no chance she would survive. Tobi's mother gently touched her son's face. It's okay. Tobi is a good boy. Those words hit Sakura like a thunderclap. So that's why he says that all the time. Promise me you'll always be a good boy. With tears streaming down his face, Tobi nodded. I promise. Suddenly his mother's hand fell from his face to the ground. Ka-san? K-san? He cried. Sakura couldn't bear to watch anymore. She left the room and closed the door. Several locked doors and traumatizing scenes later she found what she was looking for. She saw Pain speaking to Naruto? No, not Naruto. This boy had red hair but the resemblance was uncanny. Soon you will have the chakra that's rightfully yours, Pain said to the boy. How is it rightfully mine if he had it first? The boy asked. Because it was always meant to go to you once it was created by him. He was merely a container for your chakra until you were ready. But I'm just a clone. I've only been alive for a year. What makes my life more valuable than his? The boy argued strongly. A clone? Memories were awakening in Sakura. Those memories made her realize the truth. That's why he looks so much like Naruto. The clones from that lab. That guy is one of them. Because he's part of the current shinobi world. You aren't. That makes your life more worthy. The boy's mouth twisted sideways in thought. I guess. Oturin, you are this world's hope. Never forget that. Sakura would have watched more, but at that moment the sound of an explosion was heard from outside the hospital, and the building shook from the shockwave. Sakura cancelled the jutsu to find Tsunade shouting orders. Tsunade-sama, what's going on? I don't know yet, but it felt like an explosion. Help Shizen prepare for incoming wounded. Hi, Sakura answered. Nothing could have prepared Godane for what she saw when she got to the roof of the hospital. Near the monument, an area of the village at least 800 feet across was completely destroyed because a 1,000-foot-high tree had burst through the street. Its roots, which were all as thick around as an average tree trunk, snaked outward from its base. What the hell? This is Mokutan, Wujutsu, Tsunade said in disbelief. Tsunade-sama, called a female voice to Tsunade's right. Who did this? Tsunade asked Enko as she landed next to her. Akatsuki. There's a. Enko's words were interrupted when a section of one of the mammoth roots exploded outward and several ninja came through the hole after the debris. One of the combatants was a man who looked to be in his mid-30s. His red-orange hair was spiked and his forehead protector was engraved with the symbol of Amigakuru. His Akatsuki cloak fluttered in the wind as he turned back toward his attacker and unleashed another round of giant tree roots that knocked all 6 Konoha ninjas into the air. 2 of them hit the ground hard, but the other 4 were spared when a giant rainbow-colored chakra hand caught them mid-fall. Tsunade's eyes widened when she saw that hand. Not wanting her son to face Akatsuki alone, she leapt off the roof, but when she landed on street level she was blocked by a man with pale blue skin. Her eyes flattened into a glare. Kisame. Kisame wasted no words. He shot forward and swung his sword at Tsunade. Tsunade leapt backwards, charged her fists with chakra and threw punch after punch at her enemy. Naruto lowered his fellow ninja to the ground and turned to the Mokutan user, his activated. Naruto-kun. There you are, the man said calmly. Who the hell are you? Naruto demanded. My name is Pain. I'm the leader of the Akatsuki. I have an offer for you. What? Naruto said in confusion. I came here to get you. If you come with me quietly, your village will be spared. You're right. I know how that goes. I go with you, then you destroy the village anyway. Believe what you wish, but you are coming with me, one way or another. Sakura was inserting an 4-line into the arm of an injured ninja when Toby spoke to her. You can't win, you know. Sakura didn't bother to look at him. Don't talk to me. I need to concentrate. Sensei is strong. So are the people of this village, Sakura said as she hung the 4-bag on a metal pole. Not strong enough. Sensei's going to destroy this evil village, and then he's going to make it so no more kids have to lose their parents, Toby said proudly. Sakura looked up. You really believe that, don't you? Yeah, I do. I've been helping to make the world a better place. Toby is a good boy. Sakura's expression became one of pity. Toby, I've been inside your mind. I know what happened to your mom. Toby stiffened. I understand you're trying to do what she wants. I know you're trying to be a good boy, but you're not. You're killing innocent people. Good boys don't kill innocent people. It's only for a little while. After that, no one else will have to die. Ever, Toby insisted, although the growing knot in his stomach told his subconscious he was uncertain. Toby, what if the person who killed your mom walked up to you that day and said that she died for a good cause? Would you've cared? You would have hated that person. You would have wanted them to die. Sakura glanced out the window. And now, you've become that person. Toby's eyes widened. No. And no. Toby is a good boy. A good boy, he said, digging his nails into the sides of his scalp. Toby is a good boy, he finished softly. Sakura's heart went out to the broken man in front of her. She gently pulled his hands away from his head. Not yet. But you can be. I promise. Toby looked up at Sakura, tears making their way down his cheeks. How? Sakura smiled. Stay with us. We'll help you. Oturin watched the fight below with little emotion. Most of his brain power at that moment was devoted to trying to rationalize killing thousands of people just to remake the ninja world the way Pain wanted. So if 5,000 people died but it means that millions more can live, then that makes it an acceptable sacrifice. Right. He asked himself quietly as Naruto threw about 20 Sujukan bombs at Pain. Movement a little bit away from the fight caught his eye. There was a black-haired woman running down the street toward the safety of the tunnels. Oturin's eyes focused more when he saw she was holding a baby in her arms. The gears in his head spun wildly. After a moment he leapt off the monument and headed for the woman. The woman protectively held her baby closer to her body when Oturin landed in front of her. She pulled some shuriken from her jacket and threw it at him. Her eyes widened when a kage bunshin vanished in a puff of smoke. In that same instant the baby was pulled from her arms, and she saw Oturin standing 15 feet away. "Give him back!" she cried. Oturin didn't flinch. "You should be grateful. I'm saving him from your evil and from death at the same time." "What are you talking about? I'm not evil. Please! I love my baby. I would never raise him to be anything but good," the woman pleaded. Oturin's resolve faltered a bit. This woman seemed to be telling the truth, but what about everything he'd been taught? Was it all a lie? "How do I know you're telling the truth?" A tear rolled down the woman's face. "I don't know how to convince you, but you look like you think you're doing the right thing. You're not. Taking a baby away from a parent who loves him is wrong." He hadn't expected tears. Did evil people cry? No. There was no way she was evil. It was at that moment he knew he'd either been lied to or his father just didn't understand what the situation really was. He sighed heavily and held out the baby. "Take him." Fresh tears wetted the woman's cheeks as she gratefully took her son back. "Thank you." "Just make sure I don't regret it," Oturin said stiffly. He leapt away and headed toward the battle. He needed to talk to his father. To be continued. Naruto dodged the sharp-pointed root that sped through the air in his direction. The instant he landed, another root wound its way up from the ground, ensnaring his right leg. He created a Rasengan and began boring his way through the root. "It's useless, Naruto," Pain said as he walked toward his target. "Just come with me." Tsunade stood atop her slug companion and glared down at Kisame, who had changed some of his chakra into nearly 3 feet of water covering the pit left by the tree. "Heh! Using your pet slug to escape. How weak," Kisame taunted. "I am not a pet," Katsuyu protested angrily. "Don't let him get to you. He's just trying to make you lose control," Tsunade scolded. "Right. Sorry, Tsunade-sama," Katsuyu replied. She took a deep breath and sprayed the area below her with highly corrosive acid. Kisame barely managed to avoid the acid in time. Once he was out of danger, he leapt up and landed on top of Katsuyu, swinging his sword at Tsunade as he landed. Kazuhana was confused. She knew she had the location right, but for some reason she had teleported to the top of a giant tree. Her confusion was quickly overridden, however, when she heard the sounds of battle and the voice of her subordinate. She dashed over to the end of a thick branch to see Naruto throwing one Digicon bomb after another, dodging his opponent's attacks at the same time. Naruto threw a fistful of bombs at Pain and then heard a loud thud behind him, followed by a torrent of fire igniting the bombs. The resulting explosions threw Pain backwards. He managed to flip in mid-air and land on his feet. Naruto turned around, and when he saw Kazuhana he grinned. "Kazuhana!" Kazuhana grinned. "Looks like I came back just in time. Who's this guy?" "The leader of Akatsuki," Naruto answered seriously. "A dragon," Pain said in interest. "You never cease to surprise me, Naruto." Kazuhana stood on her hind legs and spread her claws wide. Lightning crackled and popped in front of her as she built up a charge. "I didn't know you could do that," Naruto exclaimed. "I learned a lot while I was gone," Kazuhana said with a smirk. She thrust her arms forward, shooting lightning at Pain. Pain threw up a wall of wood which the lightning scorched black. Naruto used a giant chakra hand to shove Sujuken against the wall, and Kazuhana's lighting ignited it. The wall shattered into thousands of splinters, but Pain had vanished from sight. Naruto looked around nervously. Where'd he go? Suddenly he and Kazuhana were surrounded by a dome of wood. Damn it! He knew he couldn't use his Sujuken Rasengan there. He'd wind up killing them both. He made a normal Rasengan and began tunneling. It wasn't long before he broke through, but another dome immediately formed. He gritted his teeth. "Kazuhana, get behind me!" Kazuhana did as instructed. Naruto pushed out a huge burst of chakra in front of him, praying that it wouldn't backlash and hurt his friend. The wall was blown away in one shot. Kazuhana and Naruto separated so Pain couldn't trap them both at the same time again. Tsunade threw punch after chakra-charged punch, and Kisame dodged them all. Damn, this bastard is fast, she thought in frustration. Kisame brought his sword down and managed to graze Tsunade's leg. Tsunade clenched her teeth in pain as the blood dampened her pants. She healed the wound as she dodged to give herself time to complete her work. Once she had pieced her skin back together, she brought her leg down toward the top of Kisame's head. Kisame leapt backwards to avoid Tsunade's foot, but suddenly there was a hand crackling with lightning sticking out through the front of his chest. He coughed up blood and the hand withdrew. As Kisame dropped to the ground, Kakashi turned off his raikiri. Tsunade walked over to him with an approving smile. About time you showed up. Kisame lifted his head with much effort. I'm not done yet, he croaked out. Tsunade rolled her eyes and slammed her chakra-charged fist into the back of his head. The ground underneath him cracked inward on itself. Yes, you are, she said flatly. Oturin watched Pain fight, waiting for an opening so he could safely talk to him. Kazuhana shot downward, lighting coming from her hands and flames shooting from her mouth. All of it was aimed at Pain. At the same time, Naruto used his chakra hands to encase Pain in a Sujukan shell. The resulting explosion was even larger than the last time they had used that attack because of the addition of the lightning. When the dust cloud cleared, Pain, bloodied but still standing, was at the epicenter. It was obvious from the multiple wood shards littering the ground that he had managed to create a shield just in time to avoid death. Oturin saw this as his moment and ran to Pain. Father! Naruto's eyes widened at the sight of this newcomer. It was like looking into a warped mirror. Who the hell are you? He asked in shock. Pain stood straighter. This is your replacement, he said as Tsunade and Kakashi came rushing over. What? Naruto said. Oturin is the clone of you who will receive your chakra once I've captured you. Naruto's eyes flattened into a glare. Like hell. Oturin, go back to your hiding place. This battle is not yours, Pain commanded. Father. Wait. Oturin shifted uncomfortably under Pain's gaze. I don't think these people are evil after all. We've been over this. Pain began. I know, but I met a woman with a baby in the street. I thought I could save the baby from the evil of the village, but when she begged me to give back her child, I didn't see evil in her eyes. What I saw was love. Evil can't love, Father. I've always believed that. And if she's from this village and she can love, then what about the rest of them? Pain sighed. There are many kinds of evil in this world. I thought I made that clear. A person can believe they're doing the right thing but actually be doing evil. So then we could talk to them about what is right. We don't have to hurt anyone, Oturin insisted. We'll talk more about this later. Right now, just get out of harm's way, Pain said. He's right, damn it, Naruto said. We're not evil. I don't know where the hell you got that idea, but it's crazy. I know tons of good people in this village. Sometimes they make wrong choices, sure, but that's not evil. That's just human. Pain clenched his jaw. Enough of this. He made a hand and arm of wood which grabbed Oturin and moved him back to the Hokage monument. The hand smashed into the ground on top of the monument, pinning Oturin. A second hand sped toward Naruto, which shattered when Tsunade punched it. Get away from my son! Tsunade growled. Pain created more wooden hands that headed for all four of his opponents. Tsunade destroyed the one headed for her with her fist, and the others shattered the hands with various jutsu. Sharp-ended roots shot up from the ground, and one of them managed to pierce Kakashi's shoulder. He cried out in pain. Kakashi-sensei! Naruto yelled. He gritted his teeth and turned an angry gaze at Pain. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. The streets were instantly filled with clones. Do you really think increasing your numbers will allow you to defeat me? Pain's hands flashed through a set of seals. Moku Garama no Jutsu. A/N wood golem technique. A loud creaking sound was heard throughout the village as giant creatures made of wood stepped out from all four sides of the giant tree. Kazuhana began blowing fire at the constructs, but while it was scorching them, the fire didn't seem to be catching, so she switched to lightning. One bolt ripped off a giant's hand. Sakura arrived on the scene and began healing Kakashi. Naruto used his father's kunai and teleported behind Pain, but his Rasengan hit a Bunshin. Damn it! Tsunade punched through the lower leg of one of the giants, and it came crashing down. She smirked. The bigger they are. She turned to her comrades. Go for the legs, she yelled. All of the Narutos used chakra hands to grab the giants by the ankles and yanked backwards, toppling all of them at once. The victory was short-lived, however, as the giants began to right themselves. The damaged sections of their bodies were regenerating with incredible speed. Naruto had an idea. The more he thought about it, the more she thought he was batshit crazy, but he didn't see another option at that point. He got rid of his shadow clones. Everyone back up, he yelled. Once they were out of the way, visible chakra covered his body. As it increased in size, he was lifted off the ground, and soon he was at the center of a giant body made of chakra. In one sweeping motion, he grabbed all the Sujukan in the area. The resulting ball he crushed around Pain was 30 feet in diameter. Naruto made sure to press the Sujukan in tight enough this time so that Pain couldn't make a shield. He turned to Kazuhana. Light it! Kazuhana didn't like this plan. Even if the village survived the blast, the chance of Naruto coming out of it was extremely slim. Heck, the chances of her coming out unscathed weren't all that great either. You can't. We don't have a choice here. Light it! Naruto commanded. Kazuhana clenched her jaw, took a deep breath, and let loose with everything she had. When the fire and lightning hit the Sujukan, the explosion rocked the entire village. Kazuhana was thrown backwards and into a fabric shop. Everyone else was far enough away that hiding behind a building was enough cover. When everything settled, Pain was everywhere. The pieces of his body and blood were anywhere anyone looked. Naruto peeked out from behind the building and saw Kazuhana's tail sticking out of the glass front of the fabric store. Kazuhana! He stood and ran to his friend. Kazuhana was covered in cuts and bruises but was in the process of getting up. I'll be okay, Naruto. I am gonna need a lot of bandages though, she said with a bemused smile. Naruto smiled in return. No, you're not. He turned toward the window. Ksan! Tsunade hurried over to her son. Can you heal Kazuhana? Naruto requested. Of course. Tsunade turned to Kazuhana. This might hurt a little. Kazuhana nodded and Tsunade began her work. Naruto surveyed the damage to the village and let out a low whistle. This is gonna take forever to fix. His gaze fell on the Hokage monument, and when he saw the broken-off hand made of wood, he remembered Oturin. Kazuhana, I'll be back. And with that he sped off. Oturin looked up when a shadow fell over his face. He gritted his teeth and shut his eyes tightly. Kill me quickly. Naruto cocked his head to one side and used his Rasengan to destroy the wood holding the other boy down. Why would I kill you? Oturin opened his eyes and stared at Naruto in confusion. Because I'm your enemy. Naruto smiled a little. Didn't seem like it during the fight. Oturin tentatively stood up. But my father. He sighed. No. I don't have a father. I'm just a clone. You're not just a clone. It doesn't matter how you were born. You're still a person, Naruto said with determination. Oturin looked stunned. He shook his head in amazement. Pain was wrong, so wrong. It's funny. I called him father, but I never really felt like his son. I don't know what I should do now. I thought Pain was my family, but it turns out I don't really have one. Naruto put a hand on Oturin's shoulder. Pain made you from my DNA, right? Yeah. So? So that makes me your family, Naruto said with a grin. Actually, Tsunade said as she landed next to Naruto, if you think about it, technically you're his father, kiddo. Naruto went bug-eyed for a moment, but his expression quickly settled down to one of quiet contemplation. I guess so. He looked at Oturin. But if you don't want me to be your dad, I get it. It's a little weird since we look the same age. Oturin's face creased in thought. Finally he smiled. We may look the same age, but you're much older than me. I'd like to try having you as a father if that's okay. We might get some weird looks if you call me dad in public. Hey, what about being brothers? Oturin smiled widely. I like that even better. 3 months later, all of Naruto's graduating class, Oturin, Tsunade, Kakashi, Jiraiya and Tomoyo stood in a group as they watched Naruto hammer the final nail in the sign he was putting up. He flipped backwards off the post he'd been glued to by his chakra and stood next to Hinata. "It looks wonderful, Naruto-kun," Hinata said as she kissed her boyfriend's cheek. She heard sniffling and moved so she could see his face. Naruto had tears in his eyes. "What's wrong?" Naruto smiled and wiped his eyes. "Nothing. It's done. It's finally done." The sign that read Namikaze was situated above a large wooden arch that served as the entryway for the main road of the Namikaze complex. To Naruto and Oturin it was more than a piece of oak-stained wood. It symbolized the completion of the restoration of their family's home. Naruto turned to the group. "Come on in, guys." Everyone walked into the complex. It looked amazing. All unwanted vegetation was gone, the roads had been restored, and even the dragon fountain in the center was working. "It's so good to see this place restored," Tomoyo commented dreamily. Kakashi smiled at his wife. "So can I assume you'd like the idea of us moving in here?" Tomoyo gasped. "Really?" Kakashi nodded. "I can't think of a better place to raise a family." Tomoyo smiled wide and gave Kakashi a huge hug. Naruto, Tsunade, and Oturin walked up to one of the houses. "This one's mine," Oturin said excitedly. Tsunade smiled. "Are you sure you don't want to live with us? I did adopt you after all." "I'm sure, Ka-san," Oturin confirmed. "Ka-san, I'll be living here too," Naruto said with trepidation. Tsunade's face fell a bit. "I had a feeling this was coming. I don't like that you won't be living with me anymore, but it's good that you're not leaving Oturin alone." She gave Naruto and Oturin hugs. "Thanks," Naruto said with a smile. 2.5 years later, Naruto gently held Hinata's hands as he led her blindfolded through the woods. "Oh, careful. There's a rock right in front of you." They walked through the woods for about 8 minutes before Naruto stopped and let go of Hinata's hands. "Okay. Stay right there. And no speaking." Hinata giggled. "Okay." Naruto let out a calming breath and put his hands in his favorite seal. A large group of clones appeared. "Okay, guys. Come here," he whispered to them for a minute. "Got it?" All the clones saluted. "OSU." They sped off to the huge clearing in front of Naruto and Hinata. Naruto rubbed his hands together. "Okay. Next part. Kuchiyos no Jutsu." Kazuhana appeared, saw Hinata, and smiled. "Ready?" "Yup. Here, Hina-chan. Climb on Kazuhana's back." "Okay." Naruto climbed on facing her and held her hands. "You okay, Kazuhana?" "No problem. I told you, dragons are strong," Kazuhana said with a scaly smile. She took off, and when the three were roughly 40 feet up, Naruto tapped her on the shoulder. "That's high enough." Naruto waited until all movement below them stopped and then began removing the blindfold from Hinata's eyes. Once the piece of fabric was gone from her vision, Hinata looked around. "It's beautiful up here, Naruto-kun." "Thank you," she said as she took in the sky around them. "I'm glad you like it, but that's not a surprise," Naruto said. He took a deep breath. "Look down there," he said as he pointed at the clearing. Hinata let out a gasp when she saw that "Will you marry me?" was spelled out on the ground by the bodies of Naruto's clones. She turned back to Naruto with tears in her eyes to find him holding up an open black velvet box with a diamond ring in it. "Hyuga Hinata. From the beginning you believed in me, cheered me on when nobody else would. You love me even though I'm an idiot sometimes, and there is no one with a more beautiful soul than you. I couldn't imagine my life without you, so please. Will you be my wife?" Tears streamed down Hinata's face. "Yes." Naruto whooped loudly and pulled his fiancée into a deep, loving kiss. "Naruto. You'll be fine," Tsunade said as her son paced back and forth in his new robe. "You're going to wear a hole in the floor, Nisan," Oturin said. "He's right, Otuto," Sasuke added with a smile. "You've been preparing for this since we were in school. You can do this." Tsunade looked at the clock on the wall. "Time to get going. I'll go announce you. Wait here till I send Nabiki to get you." Tsunade walked out onto the roof of the Hokage Tower to cheers and applause from the huge crowd of citizens assembled at its base. Her Hokage hat was held in her right hand. Today is a day I've been waiting for since my son convinced me to take this job 5 years ago. Today I will pass on the title of Hokage to him. She nodded to Nabiki as the crowd cheered again. Nabiki left and reappeared a moment later with Naruto, who was wearing the white Hokage robe and a nervous smile. He's grown up a lot since the day I met him. Back then he was a bull-headed little brat, but even when he was so immature he still managed to convince me to do what was right. He had the power to make people believe in him and to heal their hearts in the process. He's changed me and changed countless others for the better. And now that he's old enough, I know he will use that power to lead this village with strength, compassion, maturity, and intelligence. She turned to Naruto. I give you your new Hokage. Uzumaki Naruto. With that, Tsunade placed the Hokage hat on his head, and the crowd exploded into cheers. She backed up to give the stage to her son. They're all yours, Gaki, she said with a smirk. Naruto returned the smirk. Thanks, Bachan. He strode up to the edge of the roof and held up a hand to silence the crowd. Thank you all. When I was 12 years old and told everyone I was going to be Hokage someday, I believed it. But a little voice inside me also wondered if it was really possible. I mean, let's face it, I wasn't exactly the most popular guy back then. But after I graduated, I made some friends. For the first time, I had people who loved me, and that little voice got quieter and quieter until it vanished completely. Then my mom adopted me and I started dating my beautiful fiancé, he said, gesturing to Hinata. She blushed and gave a small wave while the crowd cheered. I promise I'll always do my best for all of you. We've got a lot to do in the days ahead to make the shinobi world a better place. So let's get started, Naruto said, thrusting a fist into the air. The roar of the crowd was deafening. Naruto had never felt so fulfilled. He looked up at the sky. Tusan Ka-san? Can you see me? I made it. I'm finally Hokage. 6 months later, Naruto was sitting in his office in the Hokage mansion. He wished he hadn't had to move out of the Namikaze complex, but Tsunade had insisted. He heard a knock on his door. Come in. The door opened and Hinata stood there. Naruto-kun, I need to tell you something. Can you come into the living room? She said with a smile. Naruto looked up at his wife. Sure, Hina-chan. The couple stood in the center of the room. Naruto was perplexed since Hinata had made no move to sit. What's up? Hinata smiled widely. You're going to be a father, Naruto-kun. Naruto's eyes went wide as dinner plates. Really? Hinata nodded. HM. Yada! Naruto cheered. He picked Hinata up by the waist and swung her around in circles. After a bit he put her down. Names. We need to come up with names. And I've got to put a nursery together and... He was suddenly silenced by Hinata's finger on his lips. We have plenty of time for all that. Don't worry, Hinata said in a soothing tone. Naruto smiled. You're right. I'm just excited. He suddenly laughed. What's so funny? Now my mom really will be a boss-an. Naruto and Hinata laughed, and when they were done they sat down on the couch together. Naruto looked at Hinata, then lifted the bottom of her shirt and planted a tender kiss on her belly. I don't care if you're a boy or a girl. I just can't wait to meet you, he said softly. He put the shirt back in place and pulled his wife into his arms. This was where he belonged and where he always wanted to be, holding Hinata in his house, in his village, in the place where he found truth. In dreams. Thanks a ton for watching, Shinobi Squad. I hope you had as much fun as I did putting this epic what if together. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you never miss a single twist in the story. Drop your thoughts, theories, or even wild ideas in the comments. I read every single one. And hey, if you're craving more awesome Naruto content, go check out the other videos on the channel. I've got plenty of heat waiting for you. Until next time, stay sharp, stay awesome, and remember, even a shadow clone needs love. Peace out, Shinobi.